Camera. Camera's being weird. Are you doing it again? Doing it again to me? This way. Is it on the right setting? No? Yes? Hello? Good morning. Oh, doesn't want to wake up. If it's not one thing, it's another. There? Hello. Good morning. There it is. Yeah, lefty camera, lefty audio. It's always something with these bitches. Anyway, hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time it is where you are in the world. Yeah, don't disconnect Lux from a power source. I need to be connected to a power source. Decoy Duck, thank you so much before we even started with the tier 2 sub. Very much appreciate it. We are now 10% away from me taking my jacket off to, show off my body. May need a little bit more volume. A little bit more volume. I mean, I turned it up as much as I'm capable of, and then it peaked red immediately. So I don't know. Maybe we'll take it back down slightly. Because, yeah, it peaks. It's the peaking that's the problem. Anyway, what is up, everybody? When the camera goes dark, it's because we're buried too deep under your pile of dragon gold. True. Yeah, so shout out to EB the Purple. As you can see, we have some new stuff on the screen. A little bit more volume as in size. I need more volume. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to ever argue that I need more girth. You know what I mean? So anyway, this is the setup. I feel like, is the light just... Do you need to just be like a smidge less bright? I don't know. I've got two different monitors with two very different contrast ratios. So, because I put my secondary monitor on like gamer mode because I was playing Tears of the Kingdom yesterday and I wanted the colors to really pop. So, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, this is... Evie the Purple has made these new things on here. And then let me also show you what it looks like when we're going to be watching like a show later. At this one. Look at this that we have soon. Yeah, we have this over here. Beautiful. Wonderful. I think it looks really sleek and really cool. The dragon is like a black gray dragon with a green eye, and that's pretty much exactly what I wanted. So, yay for EB the Purple. She donates her time to make the stream look fucking based. Oh, I know those plants have been there for a while, but I always love seeing that beautiful green curtain of leaves behind you. Right. I like that it's all nature-y and stuff. I'm not sure if this is popping the way that it should on this background, but we're trying some new stuff today. You know, we'll see how it goes. What if we were red? Red? Red. Yeah, what's up, Shade? Hello! The colors are even better now. Yes, yes, it's wonderful. Should I go to sleep? I woke up at 1 a.m. and I am eepy. I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel like a nap would be warranted at this point. But yes, hello everyone. Hope you're doing well today. It's been a pretty good weekend so far. I basically just like did not try to force myself to do anything yesterday. And I think that that's good. You know, having at least one day a week where you're just not doing anything. Looks like you're streaming from a grove. Does it still look like that now that it's red? Anyway. Oh, man. That red is so bright. Let's do... What is it? This? That's what it was. There we go. Oh, camera's going to be doing its thing today. Beautiful. Fridays are my days where I don't do anything. Yeah, I have... I'm still teaching my sibling now, singular, on Fridays. So... Oh, my gosh. Come on, girl. It's like a weird, it's like the power adapter is weird, but usually it's like turning it off and back on kind of helps. Hello, welcome back. So yeah, during the weekday, I basically like, during the weekdays, I always have stuff to do. And I was like, I oriented my stream schedule this way too, so that I have Friday nights and Saturday nights, like Saturdays all day really. Cause like my partner works on a regular person sleep schedule and like work time. So when I established my schedule, it's when like, you know, I was kind of orienting it around being able to spend time with my partner, you know. Oh no, John Get Bent. Oh no. We have some people whose subscriptions have lapsed. Rip in pieces. No dicks for you. No green names for you. Not allowed. I bought a dress a dress form mannequin off of Facebook Marketplace for only $50. Yo, Avi, that's crazy, isn't it? Like a dress form mannequin. Those are I would easily imagine those being several $100s. I know that my sister-in-law has one. John Get Bent, rectifying the situation with a tier 1 sub. Thank you very much. Enjoy your dicks and your green name. And thank you very much. We appreciate Mayo Side in the chat today. So as usual, when we are just coming in for the first hour or so, we tend to just kind of like relax, you know? So if you're here to just experience some vibes, that's good. If you want to come back, you know, in like 40 minutes, we will actually start watching the debate. So yeah, they typically retail for $150 to $250. That is a sweet deal. I got a KitchenAid, or no, I don't remember what brand it is, but like a stand mixer at the Goodwill for like $50, you know? I have 3 philodendron mothers that have gotten up to about 100 feet of plant across our roof in the living room. Super fun. Gonna be rooting a massive number of cuts soon. Ooh, nice. I had a pothos that I could not keep happy. I've never had philodendrons. Are we gonna do this all day? Are you gonna do this to me all day? Okay, well, at least you came back that time. Jiminy Christmas. I don't think that there's any better way for me to reset it than like literally turning it off and then back on. I'm gonna eat some curry while watching because I'm British and that's what we do. I've been making curry lately. It's delicious. I'm not gonna go on a whole food rant right at the beginning of stream and make everybody hungry, but you know, it's a learning experience. Sometimes you're like, yes, well, I actually prefer my chicken to be browned before I start cooking it in the curry sauce. So, gonna do that differently next time. Oh gosh, are we gonna talk about fast fashion? Hasn't it recently come out that Temu is like legit slave labor stuff? Like you can get, it's like, ooh, you can get a bunch of clothing for like only $2. It's like, yeah, because it's like slave labor without the significant markup, without the like many hundreds of % markup. I'm not Desi, but isn't curry actually multiple things? Yeah, so that's kind of one of my favorite things about curry. I don't want to get into a whole food thing again, but the fact that I can use like so many different spice blends, I could use 2 totally different spice profiles and still it's like curry. Like fundamentally, it's still the same genre of food. And you can do it with like chickpeas or you can do it with chicken. Like you've got different options for what kind of protein you use. Yeah, curry's delicious. Those ads gave me the ick, but actual slave labor, holy crap. Well, I mean, it's... I guess when I say slave labor, when I'm referring to these like clothing companies, it's also like the, you know, in China or whatever, like when you hear about like, oh, these people are sleeping under their tables, you know, like it's not like slavery on the books, but it is still like slavery functionally. You know what I mean? At least like that's how I see it. So the Shein scandal was huge. Yeah, like Shein... Yeah, the sweatshops, exactly. I'm always down to spend 2 hours talking about food. Curry is basically as inclusive and vague as saying bakery food, but yeah. Yeah, so I mean just like a sauce base that you build a profile on, and then you add some protein to it and usually eat rice with it, you know? Food is love, true. I really do love making food and then giving it as a gift. It is kind of my thing. But yes, I don't want to make everybody hungry. I did not eat breakfast earlier, so I'm expecting that by the end of stream, I'm going to be like, ooh yeah, I'm ready to eat food. So definitely don't want to like linger on it too much. Not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna be hungry. Listen, so we can just sip our coffee. Just reminder, this is what we're gonna be doing in a little bit. We're doing the Republican debate, and honestly, because it's 2 hours long, we might keep our little hangout in the beginning just a little bit shorter. Like maybe in about 15 minutes, we'll start the actual show. We'll see. I love eating food, so anyone who loves to cook for others to show they care is my new best friend, truly. And I feel like, you know, it's a big deal to me to make good food when I make it. So We will start the actual pain. Yes, yes. What's up, Decoy Duck? The sweatshops and penny wages. I kind of figured they were going to be a horrible company. Temu just blasted their ads everywhere with AI TTS voices and stock footage. Like, if you told me they didn't even make clothes at all, I'd have believed you. Like, the whole thing is just it's like an elaborate scam of some kind. I need shots for this, but not on a Sunday. Yeah. I have, like, I had a couple of beers last night. I still have a couple. I was thinking about maybe drinking one during the day today, but yeah, I don't know, maybe. For me, I exclusively buy used clothing because I assume most of it was made in sweatshops unless proven otherwise. I mean, yeah, like if you live in America, I don't know that it's even possible to get clothing that wasn't made in a sweatshop unless you make it yourself. And in which case, I would say there is still probably a good chance that the fabric had slave labor somewhere in the process. But yeah, Junebug, I buy used clothing because that's what I can afford. Honestly, I like shop at thrift stores for the most part. And I don't like... then I'll sometimes go to the clearance section. Like, I'll be at Walmart because I needed something specific. And I'll like walk through the clearance clothing before I leave. And I'm like, why is this clearance and it's still $20? Like, that's dumb. So yeah, frequently if I'm gonna buy clothing, I buy it from the... Oh my god. Okay, the camera just decided to die right when Obsis donated. But anyway, thank you for the $10 dono. A small donation for the brain cells you will lose watching this debate. That will make things easier. Truly. You know, if I just get donos, it'll reverse the osmosis effect of losing brain cells. And now, we are 1/4 of the way to the goal. Look at that. Amazing. Appreciate all of you. Camera agrees clearance needs to be $1 or less. Truly. So, yeah, I feel like even at the thrift stores, stuff can get kind of... I'm like, why is this thing like $8? But, you know, it's still way less expensive. And I don't know if y'all go to the... like thrift stores who do like this like type of thing, like all clothes are 50% off today, or like all home decor is like 25% off today. I go to some stores that do stuff like that, you know? Goodwill getting full of itself with these prices. I did get a table there for $1 one time because the table had just been there for too long apparently. So people just didn't want to buy that table. And then I realized when I got home why nobody wanted to buy it. Because the table was built backwards, basically. It was dumb. Finding trans-affirming undies and bras is hell. Truly. No, I'm from a small town and the only thrift store in my area shut down a few months ago. That's a bummer. Ugh, I always find cooler things thrifting than what's currently in style. I will say... one thing that does kind of... I'm feeling a little bit of a bottleneck right now because I've been, you know, I want to like... I have a Fansly that's safe for work content only, for the time being at least. And it's like, I want to like put together cool outfits, like cool ensembles. And that's hard to do because I have like a pretty limited amount of like femme clothes. And also femme clothes that fit me. So, but like, I love my looks to be kind of goth-oriented, and it's really kind of hard to find cool shit at the thrift store that is, like, gonna be on that theme and, like, cute/sexy and fit me, you know? So, yeah, I guess I should probably post on Fansly more, and when I'm doing that, I can also post my, like, I have a clothes-oriented Amazon wish list so that, like, yeah, it's like, hey, do you want to buy me this cool fishnet-looking top that's, like, super weird? I don't know. I would like to have more cute stuff like that, but, yeah. One of the thrifts that's near me had a fire, and it hurts so much that I lost that huge resource. One of these days, I will have to mail-in order... to find bras, since I only currently have 2 working bras behind my clothing sports bras, or the cloth sports bras. Doing that while COVID is still a concern is probably going to suck, especially since I will need to get measured first. I mean, you can get one of these. Oh, mall. You can get one of these and measure yourself, and then go to the subreddit r/a bra that fits, and they also have a lot of guidance for like what kinds of bras are going to fit your certain like size. So like I've gotten some very specific recommendations that have fit quite nicely. So especially for you, you girls, measuring myself isn't terrible, just painful to do because of body dysphoria issues. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I'm just saying, like, if you want a COVID-free option, fishnets are love. Fishnets on Lux are bigger love. I mean, yeah, I want to get the stuff. Is there a command? Like, no? There we go. One of those wish lists on the command there is a clothing-oriented one. If anybody's interested in seeing what kind of style I have. I'm a 40A, so this girl is effed. I stick with bralettes and sports bras 90% of the time. You gotta stick with what works, okay, girls? You know? It's hard to... Yeah. And here's the thing. I honestly am considering what if I, like, made my own bras? Because that's a thing. You know, you could potentially get good at sewing and just do your own shit. My sewing machine needs to be adjusted before I can really use it again. But, you know, I think that that's like a kind of skill that... I think that making your own clothes, or at least being able to alter your own clothes, is a skill that should be more common. I don't know if that's a popular opinion, but... Okay, Avi is coming out strong in favor of make your own bras. There's so many good tutorials online. Yeah, I mean, obviously, probably the first bra that you make, if you leap into doing a complicated project like a bra, it might be a little bit lumpy. But I would say, like, yeah, being familiar with a sewing machine, and, like, you can get a cheap one, and you can get a used one, and, like, you take them to vacuum stores. I don't know if you know this. If you have a sewing machine that's old, just take it to a vacuum shop, and they can do maintenance on them, because it's just like a bunch of belts and pulleys in there. Just learn to sew, says every drag artist ever. Truly. Honestly, bras should be custom made, but good luck making a living with that. I mean, frankly, I feel like if you had a custom tailored bra, you could probably charge roughly the same amount that people have to buy shitty bras that aren't custom sized to them have to pay. So, like, I feel like you could be pretty competitive as a bra maker. And then, like, if you made them for, like, say, trans women in particular, if you're like, I'm going to make specific styles of bras that are going to fit trans women's chests, then you have a niche market. Congratulations. I have just given someone their $1 million idea. You're welcome. Not saying that it's not worth learning, just that it's a lot of work. Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, like, you should be familiar, I think, with you should be able to alter your own clothes slightly. Like, you should be able to hem something or, like, sew up a hole. That's a skill that I think you should just, like, try to develop, even if it's only by hand, you know? I wasn't taught to sew because I'm AMAB and I'm still mad about it. I wasn't really taught to sew. Like, I did sew just to, like, fix my shit, and it always was bad. But, like, you know, there's a whole big wide internet now where you can learn these things. I have a difficult time measuring myself. Yeah, it's like there's all kinds of complications with it. You might as well go in if you are struggling with it, you know? I'm gonna hem and haw. Yeah, hemming and hawing. Excuse me. Drink your coffee if you don't have one. Then drink water, you know? I also have a giant thing of water, so I'm setting a good example, okay? I'm drinking a diuretic and my water. I learned sewing in public school in grade 7, but I'm 55. It was a class we all had to take. We all made jogging pants. I'm, like, mad that there isn't a basic skills class like that anymore. That, like, when you went to school, like, 40 years ago, you were being taught these actual hands-on skills that you could use in your life, and, like, just didn't do it. I had a nutrition class, which I was grateful for, and I know that not everybody has a nutrition class, and my health class was pretty comprehensive, but yeah. I'm more of a tea person, especially in summer. Iced tea for the win. Frankly, I'm considering like making iced coffee sometimes. Could do that. There are so many things that schools should teach, except conservative assholes are like, the parents should teach that, not even just sex stuff. Yeah, like, why am I not, like, why was I not taught, like, how taxes work? Or, like, what is a mortgage? Or any of that stuff. Like, how do you build credit? People are like, oh, your parents will teach you things. I'm like, oh, yeah, you mean my parents who, like, my grandparents filed for bankruptcy multiple times and therefore clearly didn't know what they were fucking doing? And then, like, or maybe just once, but, like, and then they didn't teach my parents, like, relevant skills. So, like, how the hell am I supposed to have them? It's because they want you to be caught in generational poverty. We had tech in the UK where we learned food, textiles, woodwork, etc. Yeah, there are some places in the US where there is, like, a shop option. But I feel like woodwork is, like, different than, you know, more like food and maintenance oriented tasks. True, just be born rich. Yeah. I'm now having to reteach myself a lot of things. Doing gardening, I wish I knew small engine repair. Honestly, yeah, my partner was considering getting a, like, taking a small engine repair class so that, because at the time he had a motorcycle, and I was like, that would be cool. Like, and then you have a skill that you could potentially market. Crash Course is awesome for learning high school topics you missed as a kid. True. Okay, so I'm always gonna shout out Crash Course. They do have, like, yeah, how to be an entrepreneur and other skills, but, like, I'm relying on the Crash Course biology and world history courses to teach my siblings, like, those subjects, you know? My brother just bought a motorcycle. I am terrified for him. I mean, you just have to drive super defensively on a motorcycle. You gotta be super duper careful. Hopefully your brother is a responsible person in general. Like, I know the motorcycle is a risky thing, but you can have a motorcycle and still be, like, safe. I had a class in high school called Computer Applications, which ostensibly was supposed to teach you the Office suite, but no, it was literally just a typing class. I tore through the entire curriculum and the teacher was like, I don't know what to do with you. And I was like, maybe explain Excel. Those were two separate things for me when I was younger. There was a typing class when I was in middle school, and then a class that taught, like, Excel and Word document stuff, like, all that shit in high school. So, but, like, why would you call it computer applications if it's literally not teaching you anything about the applications? That's really dumb. You just articulated why I'm scared for him in particular, driving a motorcycle. Oh, is he not a particularly responsible person? Oh wait, Gayfesh, you sent a link earlier and I like saw it and then completely didn't click on it. Oh my god, girl, are you really gonna do this to me all day? I might, like, unplug it and turn it off and let it sit for, like, a second because I don't really understand why. Oh yeah, so I have a strong opinion about this meme. Let me tell you, I got a real strong opinion about it. And that opinion is that there is an obvious correct answer. Like, there's a very obvious correct answer. How does this look? Does this look good? Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so good. Oh, Gorge, that's so good. I love that. Look at how nicely that fits on the screen. So yeah, we have a clear answer here. If you don't know what this is, the premise is, I know, it's so good. Shout out EB the Purple, always so good. I don't know if she takes commissions, but if she does, you know, hit her up. This is a portal, you know, from Portal the game. Like, here's the orange one and here's the blue one. And so in the game, you know, you can, like, shoot one over there and shoot one over here and then, like, walk through it or jump through it. And the idea is, in the game, with the physics, you maintain your momentum. You maintain your momentum when you go through the portal, which means that the correct answer is A. You don't accelerate by the portal accelerating around you, you know? It's just that the portal accelerates around you and you maintain your momentum and physics. So the correct answer here is A. You have to consider reference frames. Listen, but the thing is that, like, if I'm standing still, if I'm, like, I'm standing and then, like, I shot a portal into a wall in front of me that's moving toward me, so there's, like, a hole, and I'm gonna go through it, like, and I'm just standing in one place, right? And the portal is somewhere, the other side of the portal is somewhere else. I'm not gonna suddenly, like, launch forward when if the thing is, like, rushing toward me and then, like, goes around me, and now I'm just now standing in a different place because the portal moved around me. The correct answer is A, very obviously. It is B, I will fight you. You're wrong. This is not something that's showcased in a Portal game, I think. I mean, I'll watch the video, but I think you're wrong, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Usually in the game, you know, you can't shoot a portal onto a moving wall, I think, is like... They tend to reset themselves when you put them on a wall that moves. What the fuck have I done over here? Oh my god, why is there so much yarn? And, like, how did it end up wrapped around this? I don't understand. I've done something horrible. I don't understand how you're all wrapped up in this, but whatever. Okay. Is today a bad news stream day? We're gonna do the debate here in a bit. We are going to do the debate here momentarily. Okay, hold on. What am I doing? I was gonna drink coffee and I'm trying to get my earbud in. Will portal logic be the left's undoing? True. Oh my god. Well, yeah, all walls are moving with some reference frame. Yes, I don't disagree with that on principle. The room on the other side is moving towards you as much as the portal is. Yeah, anyway, I just, I'll tee up the video in a second. Hold on here. This is the most dire wrong take you've ever had. I know, people get spicy about this, apparently. Alright, hold on.
The video game Portal is built around a sci-fi device that can create a portal connecting one place on the wall or ceiling or floor to another, and objects in the game, or the player themselves, can pass essentially instantaneously from one end of the portal to the other. In particular, an object entering one end of the portal with a certain speed leaves the other end with the same speed, though if the portals aren't oriented in the same direction, then the object will exit in the new direction, but the speed will be the same. And this leads to an apparent paradox. What happens if one of the ends of the portal is itself moving? Does a stationary object plop out the other end of the portal with 0 speed, since it had no speed before entering? Or if the orange portal moves quickly downwards, does the cube shoot out of the blue portal with the corresponding relative speed? It's easy to argue in favor of either case, which I suspect is why this puzzle is so popular on the internet.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, it's because you could really argue a logical thing either way. I'm sure that, yes, there is an actual physics answer, and that's what we're getting from Minute Physics. So I guess, you know, I appreciate the concept beyond what I imagine it could be like based on the game, you know? Yeah, your position on this is very tanky, not gonna lie, very unwoke, true.
Of course, as far as we know, such portals don't exist. But supposing they did and obeyed the laws of physics, then the question really boils down to this. If objects have to enter and exit the portals with the same speed, then what's that speed being measured relative to? Because in our universe, there's no absolute reference frame from which to measure speeds and velocities on their own. Velocities can only be determined relative to another object. So here are a few options. Perhaps when passing through a portal, the object maintains the same speed relative to the environment. This one's option A. Or perhaps objects maintain the same speed relative to the average position of the portals themselves, except that's mathematically the same as measuring relative to the environment, as long as the portals aren't accelerating. So option A. Or perhaps the speed an object has relative to the portal it enters is the same as the speed it has relative to the portal it exits. This one is option B. Or perhaps objects enter and exit at a constant speed relative to the end of the portal they're not using at the moment. It's a valid possibility, although it's kind of weird. The thing is, all of these options are consistent with what you see in the video game, because in the game, the portals pretty much never move relative to the environment. My personal opinion is that the most physically natural option is B, where the velocity is locally measured relative to the individual ends of the portals, and so the cube shoots out of the blue portal. This would be roughly what you'd expect if the portals were wormholes bending spacetime, because the objects then would obey conservation of momentum in a curved spacetime, or if the portals were more of a teleportation device that scans the matter coming in one end and reconstructs it, kind of like a 3D printer at the other end.
I had not even considered that as an option for how the portals work, so that's pretty cool. A moving portal would work the same as a tube in water. The framing of this physics question is better than the trolley because it is made way more clear the question is about speed. Trolley, you have no way to know what the speed even is, let alone if it's moving at all. Yeah, I guess so. Lord Shiva knows how the portals work. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fun question to argue about. But it's like, yeah, what it comes down to the physics of it. Or, like, I guess it also comes down to the game physics of it, because Kitty points out, like, portals can't be on a moving object unless you change the game settings. So the question is actually a bad one in general. Kitty is asserting that the question itself is a flawed premise because you can't have a moving portal in the game, I guess. The way I explain it is imagine instead of people on that track, you have a mile-long lance on the track, and the trolley is moving at 60 miles an hour, so the lance takes a minute to move through the portal. Yeah. So how can it, like, so the lance would be coming out of the other end of the portal at 88 feet per second once it comes through. Does it stop? That would be a force exerted on it in the opposite direction. I kind of see what you mean. So you're saying, like, because the portal on the front of the trolley, like, say it's moving at, like, 88 miles per hour or whatever, like, it's like, so for a brief period, the spear is inside the portal for one half, but not the other, but the portal is still moving at that speed, which means that the lance is entering the new space at that speed. I kind of see what you mean there. I see what you're talking about. That makes sense. Have you seen that video from Hank Green about how mathematicians are biased against recognizing when a question is too badly written for it to have a single true answer? I feel that this is one of those cases. I mean, I think, like, Gayfesh's proposal of the lance makes it make sense as B, but let's finish the minute physics video.
So, I think B is more natural. It's also tempting to think that there's simply no way it could be option A, the one where objects keep their same speed relative to the environment, because how could a stationary object exit a stationary portal while remaining stationary? The object would have to move, right? However, there is a way for option A to work, precisely because the cube doesn't enter the orange portal all at once. It goes in bit by bit. And if those bits come out of the blue portal not moving, then they all appear exactly in the plane of the portal, stationary, and they would keep on piling up against each other, squishing the cube into a flat square, which is not moving. Or, if the cube were rigid and couldn't be squished, then it simply couldn't enter the orange portal in the first place. The blue end of the portal would act like a wall, and the orange portal would bounce off of it. And I suspect option A is actually how the portals are programmed in the video game itself, both because measuring speeds relative to the global environment, as opposed to relative to a particular object is typically the easiest thing to program. And because people who've done experiments within the game engine to try to see what happens have discovered that the game glitches and doesn't let solid objects pass through a portal moving towards them, which is perhaps an unsatisfying answer to the paradox, and not how you think the portals should work. But that's okay, we don't have to agree with the game designers. To me, the moral is that the portal paradox is not a paradox. The answer depends on how the portals themselves actually work, which, since they're fictional, is up to you to decide. What you think should happen says more about you, and whether you think more like a programmer or more like a physicist. And so, I leave you with a final portal puzzle to ponder. What if instead of moving down towards the cube, the orange portal is moving sideways on the ground and you drop the cube through it? Does the cube shoot straight up through the blue portal? Does it bounce off of the orange portal? Or does it shoot out of the blue portal at an angle? This
I think if it enters at an angle, then it has to exit at an angle. The trick is that the length is arbitrary. Well, yeah, so Kitty makes a good point. If I'm walking away from the portal at a slightly slower speed than the portal is traveling at me, if your hand is behind you, if the portal passes over your hand, are you yanked through the portal backwards? Like, if you're moving away from it? Yeah, it gets really silly. I mean, personally, I think that A makes the most sense, I guess, within the context of the game. Small brain, crazy answer, medium brain, a large brain, A, large brain, B, huge brain. The question is wrong. True. Oh, what's up, Amaranth, with your Namaste? Namaste. Ooh, I want to show you all something really fast. Hit like, because I am telling you to. Do it. And then I'll show you the thing. So, you guys know that I made, well, rather, I 3D printed these horns a while ago, you know? Like, about a year ago, actually. And they're based and awesome. And I've been using this piece of plastic to hold them on to the thing. And instead now, I have made a braided leather head thingy for them to be on my head so that I can wear them and they won't fall. Like, they're just like a nice little leather cord that I tie in the back. Ooh, horns. Yeah. Yas, queen. How does that look? It's not, most of them are not in frame, I'm assuming, because they're so tall. But yeah, and now they're like, it's at a set distance apart. They look cute. What am I doing? Bring this down a little bit. Yeah. Cuties. Okay, there we go. Now they look how I want them. I probably should glue them a little bit, like this leather piece, to keep it where I want it to go. But I'm still pretty pleased with how this turned out. Super cute. It looks way more legit now. And I'm a special boy. So there we go. They're mostly in frame. You lose the tips. Losing the tip. Yeah, I know, it's so early in the day for Horny Stream. Did you take exact measurements of your head? Not really. I mean, someone else designed it and they had tweaked it so that it would fit on that person's head. So like, for example, I actually kind of wish that they were tilted a little bit down more, but because it was designed to go on a person's head, like right here, they're not, it's just kind of hard to do that. I am the specialist of boys. Put like a little fur around the base of the horns. I mean, they fit fine. They're good. No ADHD meds today equals my spelling is trash. I know. When will you get horn implants? The current options for horn implants just aren't good, you know? Your skull is like not very thick, so it's hard to like put screws and stuff in there to moor something in place. And, you know, anything that doesn't need to be moored in place is just like gonna be really small. So I don't want horn implants. Drink more water. My throat is so dry. Is there a secret third option to the portal paradox where it's like, it, like, where the speed, like, gets warped to an extent. Like, anything that isn't moored in place will migrate. True. Get on it, science. And part of it is your skin. You know, you gotta, if you're gonna put something under your skin, then it's gonna stretch your skin. Like, I guess, or the other thing is you could get something, you could, I guess that you could put a hole in your cranium and then put, like, a piece of metal on the underneath that has, like, a screw that sticks up through the hole, and then you could like attach things to it by screwing them on. But yeah. Oh god, there's infinite answers because the question itself is wrong. Bigger question, does air pass through portals? Yes, it does. It is spoilers for the end of the game of the second game. Yeah, so at the end of the second game, you shoot a portal onto the moon, and it sucks all of the stuff out into space. So there is, the third option is that the two ends of the portal, if the two ends of the portal are moving relative to each other, anything passing through would be squished down to a plank length, i.e. the flattest pancake in the world. Well, that was something he mentioned in the video, but I meant more like, is there a secret third option where, like, they do enter with a certain amount of speed, like if the portal itself is moving around it, but it, like, the portals themselves attempt to normalize the transition as much as possible, so they might, like, have a dampening effect on certain kinds of physics interactions. Like, we can't say that there isn't some secret mechanism to make it work in a specific way because, like, we don't understand the technology because it's fiction, right? Oh my gosh. I can't do horns. Heteronormativity would try to make me wear large masculine horns and encourage me to fight over mating rights and shame me for wearing subtle feminine horns that I identify with. Are my horns masculine because they're big? Is that how that works? Yeah, it's sci-fi. You could add in whatever you want. Star Trek has inertial dampeners so the crew doesn't become a smear on the back wall whenever they go to warp. Yeah, there's something internally that keeps you stable when you go into warp. What if the portals are by their nature stationary and will transport whatever passes through even if it's the surface they are mounted to? Getting complicated there. Reminds me of Maleficent. She's an imp, I think. Maleficent is a dragon, so I guess if I remind you of her, then that's appropriate. Because they're dragon horns. So, there you go. I think I would, again, I think that it would look less like Maleficent if they were down like this. But, yeah. Part of the reason why they can't do that is because of where the holes are that go through it. You know, there's like holes. And I did not design this, so I cannot change that. It's like, yeah, how can I? This is more like what I want. Maybe I should print ones without the holes so that I can just, like, but then I won't have the option to make a cool string thing, man, you know? But this is more what I'm going for. Anyway. Just looking at myself. Don't worry about it. It would be fun to play a D&D game where people debate how portals work. A portal-based TTRPG. Oh, I'm wrong. It's not for warp. It's for the sublight impulse engines, which are very fast. Going at warp, you wouldn't be impacted at all because you're inside a warp bubble where locally you are not moving. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you enter like a... Excuse me. Technically, your horns are whatever you want. Politically, your horns are whatever the vultures in the government want them to be. True. There are animals that have bigger appendages, so you could be any gender dragon and have big horns. Yeah, but yeah, and I don't disagree though with the premise that horns are a gendered feature, like that big horns are associated with like masculinity, and like, you know, female deer in some species don't grow horns, but males do. Like, yeah, masculine virility is one of those symbols, you know. Where are we talking about warp? We're talking about warp because haven't been around for a bit. Those new graphics are fun. We were talking about the portal conundrum of like which one of these is the true one. What's up, beloved panda? Haven't made it to a stream in a while, but I look forward to today's stream topic because I love watching the Republicans squirm. Yeah, we are going to be watching the debate soon. So why don't I actually tee that up? Because it's been like an hour since we started and we need to get going. Hello, Mersh. Y'all trickling in. Thank you so much. You're coming in late, but you haven't missed anything except for just some random discussion. So we're actually going to watch the debate momentarily, and you're here just in time. You should hit like if you haven't hit like already, because that will help the stream. Yep. Loving the dragon graphics. Yes, thank you. EB the Purple just finished them up. They're awesome. I think my only concern is like, is this one a little bit too big in the frame? I don't know. We'll see. I can't hear yep without thinking of Ducky from Land Before Time, and then I get sad. Throwback 20 plus years. Gee, mini Christmas. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do this whole debate thing. We might have to deal with advertisements occasionally, but I'll probably just switch the scenes. Oh my god, is that... Look at that. It's one of my white hairs just hanging out in the front. In front of my horn. Look at that. Wow. Contrast. Contrasted against the black horn. Look at me. I'm getting old. Isn't that lovely? I actually am really looking forward to having like a lot of white hair. It's gonna happen if my family genetics are anything to go by. So that's fun and exciting. Love to hear it. Love to see it. Yeah, the headband has to be back so far in order to accommodate this placement. And then if I tighten them up at all, it messes it up again. Anyway, horns. I don't really want to wear them. Anyway, I just wanted to show them off for the time being. All right. You said throwback 20 years, but I regret to inform you that the movie is 35 years old. Sure, yeah, I just, when I was little, I am almost 30, so my remembrance is when I was, like, a little kid. So for me, personally, it's a throwback of, like, actually almost 30 years, I guess. My left eyelashes went white when I was 12 or 13 years old. Interesting. 52 and the only gray is on my chin. I'm looking forward to it. I'm one of those people who wants to be old. I don't really want my skin to look old. I'm realizing that as my skin is starting to look old now that I'm 30, but I'm like, oh well, I guess there's just nothing you can do about that. I played a Game Boy, the original one, with when the GBA was at the end of its lifespan. Yay, being a poor kid. I always got, like, my dad's hand-me-downs. Did anybody else have that, where your dad, or you had an older cousin or something maybe, or, like, your older brother who would play the thing, and then you wouldn't get one until they got the next thing, Which, it wasn't always the case. Sometimes my dad would buy me one, like, after they'd been out for a little while, but before the next one had come out. Or, like, occasionally it was like, oh, I want us both to get this thing so that we can play it together or whatever. But, yeah. It is interesting how just, like, I guess before we start the debate, I do want to, like, opine for a second, because I've thought about this before. Like, so my partner is, like, several years older than me, like 3 or 3.5 years older than me, something like that. So you would think with him being older than me that he would have had a more analog childhood than mine. Like, I was born in 94, right? I'm in that wiggle room area where we're not sure what the actual cutoff for being a millennial versus Gen Z, right? But I firmly feel that I'm a millennial because I was poor. Because, like, my partner got gifted a laptop when laptops were still very expensive and new, right? Like, just a class difference between being, like, from a relatively comfortable middle class family versus, like, me being in a position where, like, you know, my mom eventually got a computer for her schooling and, like, it didn't have much stuff on it, you know, it was mostly for her to do her schoolwork. I could occasionally go to the library to use one of their computers to, like, play games, but I wasn't, like, I did not have access to the internet until I was much older. Like, so for me, if I was born in 94 and I had been in a, like, high income family, I think that I would probably end up feeling more akin to, like, Gen Z. But for me, I was like, yeah, I played outside because I didn't have a bunch of game systems to, like, fuck with. Or, like, my mom had a, you know, original NES and I was, like, not allowed to play it or whatever, you know? Rage against the dying of the light. 30 is millennial, yeah. Well, yeah, it's but I'm saying, like, it's interesting how, like, class fudges that line a little bit, you know? The rule of thumb is that if you can remember a time before 9/11, you're millennial. Yeah. And I'm saying, like, there is, like, a kind of distinction between just the strict, like, age limits versus, like, your experience of technology. You know, I don't know that this was necessarily the case for previous generations. Like, but it's like, what conditions did you grow up under? Like, is how I think of it more. Like, what do you have in common with other people who were born around that same time? Or, like, at what point, either way, with people being older than you or younger than you, at what point do you stop feeling like you have stuff in common, right? And, like, that technological shift that we had in the 90s, I think, is, like, the defining difference between millennials and Gen Z. Is, like, did I grow up with, like, a tablet? No, I did not. Like, that's one of the big differences to me. Or, like, did I have a phone? Like, I didn't have a phone until I was in middle school. My dad got me a prepaid phone because he wanted me to be able to call him if I was, like, at the library or something. My mom was against me having a phone, like, initially. And then it took a long time for me to get, like, a phone with a touchscreen, you know? We had money for computers in the dial-up age. My parents just chose not to buy them. True, fair enough. My grandfather can remember a time before 9/11, therefore millennial. True. What's up, tipster? Welcome in. My first phone was in high school. It was a prepaid that I won in a poetry contest. Yeah, I had a prepaid phone in, like, 7th grade, I think. 6th or 7th grade, something like that. Because that was a point at which, like, I was just, you know, getting myself to and from school and, like, going to the library and doing stuff, like, extracurricular, whatever. Literally everyone just did games on the Macs on school breaks. True. I was given a BlackBerry and washed it by accident. When I washed the second BlackBerry, they gave me this weird old brick of a phone I had for 2 years. I mean, yeah, I think that you proved that you couldn't be trusted. So it makes sense that you didn't get your first smartphone until you were, like, a junior in high school. The shared cultural environment is the most useful metric. People who are too particular about it are obsessing over an arbitrary taxonomical question, which I think most people in here would agree are annoying things to split hairs over. Sure, I'm not going to split hairs over it. I'm just, you know, it's interesting to me that your class experience, as far as the millennial versus Gen Z split, it does make a big difference. Because imagine being a Gen Z, imagine being the age group of a Gen Z in this day and age, but being so poor that you don't have a, like, access to the computer and the tablet and stuff. Like, imagine how alienated it must feel, like alienating it must be for teenagers nowadays who don't have technological access and are still, like, in public school. You know, like, the difference in, like, being able to keep up with the culture via, like, memes and stuff. If you don't have that, wow, I cannot even imagine. I broke a lot of stuff I was given as a kid, including my gender. True. Yeah, the yummy class analysis. Okay, well, let's put a class analysis on hold and start watching this debate, shall we? Since that's what we've set out to do today. That's our goal. Do we like the color, or does it need to be... Orange is kind of interesting. How does this look on my normal monitor right now? Oh, it looks way more subdued and normal on this monitor. We've got so many options. Oh god, that's intense. That's what was on before, I think. This is also an option. Oh my god, that's way green. That's intense green. Anyway, wait. Do we want to do... Nope, nope. It's this one, or it's this one. This is like a little bit more on the green side. That's nice. Lovely. Do we have to... Listen, if someone donates $75 right now with the intention of me not doing the debate, then I will not do the debate. But otherwise, I'm sorry, but it is the thing that I want to do today. You can pay me to not do what I want to do. Good grace. Show Tum, please. When we get to the dono goal, I will show Tum. I will do it. But not until then. I got my first cell phone when I worked for a local newspaper as an advertiser representative. Oh my god. Yeah, so well into your adulthood at that point. Oh, no worries, Agamotto. I was mostly joking anyway. Yeah, Lux is once again in their Buy My Silence era. Every once in a while, you know, it worked that one time. Where there was one time where someone was like, I don't want to talk about serious news. And I was like, okay, well, if we get to the dono goal, then I won't talk about serious news. And then it worked. So, you know, occasionally you just got to throw it out there. Oh my god, here we go. The sound I turned off earlier.
Takes flight. Welcome to the first debate of the 2024 presidential campaign, live at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee.
Oh, I love this thing. It's so good.
8 Republican candidates have qualified and have chosen to be here on our debate stage tonight. They are here to lay out their vision for America, as they battle for the GOP nomination. Good evening, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum.
And I'm Brett Baer. This is the very same...
Why? Okay, so this is exclusive on Fox News, by the way. I just want to state that, like, you might get DMCA'd for this. Really? Are people not showing the full thing? Because, yeah, it is exclusive through, it's exclusive through them, right? Let me change this. You will almost certainly be fine. You think so? No debate rap. I know, yeah, aka 8 Angry Republicans. Yes, DeSantis is here, on here. I think the rule is you need to give ample commentary to make it fair use. Yeah, I mean, the question is whether the channel gets horked out anyway. Listen, I just for your frame of reference, for the most part, my streams seem to remain monetized while they're live, and then as soon as it's like uploaded, essentially, it goes yellow to like limited advertisements, you know? Not doing a live react. Yeah, I'm not taking away from their original market. Anyway, you'll be fine if you show gratuitous Tum. I know.
Okay. Stage on which the Republican choice for president will accept the party's nomination next summer. The 8 contenders are positioned by the order they sit in the polls.
But yeah, I was going to say, this is Fox News. Why do they all look like this? Why does every female Fox News person look like this? It's like dyed blonde. I can see your roots. You've got heavy eyeliner on. I don't know why. I love that I don't have to worry about the fact that, like, previously this lady's face would have been partially covered by chat. Isn't that lovely? Wow. Wow. I'm just basking in it today. Yeah, white supremacy, exactly.
The highest polling candidates in the middle standing center stage. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Oh my God, he's just not a human person. He is, look at that painful smile on his face. I'm gonna rip on his weird face every time I look at him. Like, that's easily one of the main things that I'm planning to talk about today.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis'
inability to look like a human person. Like, who is piloting your skin suit, sir? What kind of monstrosity is within you? He reminds me of the defects from Brave New World. It's like he's got he's got a yerk in his brain and it doesn't know how to simulate human emotions. You know what I mean? It's like Animorphs debating whether to order pizza. If you can afford pizza, I would say that's a great idea. Yes, thank you, Ariel. Shout out to EB the Purple. The Judicator eyebrows look Botoxed to permanently look surprised. I can see why lizard people conspiracies abound. Truly. This guy looks much more normal.
Former Vice President Mike Pence.
Of course we got Mike
Former
Pence.
South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley.
Is this the one token woman?
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
Oh, Chris Christie's here. Okay, cool.
Carolina Senator Tim Scott.
Oh, there were a bunch of boos for Chris Christie? Oh my God. I don't know who all these people are.
Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson.
And North Dakota Governor
There were some
Doug
boos.
Burgum.
I don't know who most of these people are, TBA.
Some ground rules.
This is going to be like we're going to weed a bunch of them out at this early phase thing. And frankly, Ron DeSantis, you cannot make your face be normal, so he's got no riz. Just no riz. I don't like Christie at all, but he is the best one in the bunch. Oh no. I've heard some of the topics that they discussed on this, and it's going to be a wild time.
Rules for tonight. We'll ask the questions, and then candidates get 1 minute to answer. If someone is singled out, you get 30 seconds
Christie is
to
a neocon,
respond.
not a fascist.
And when the
Fair
time
enough.
runs out, we all will hear this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me explain. Riz is short for charisma. So it's like if you've got the Riz, it means you have charisma. It's a new thing. I just learned about it. I'm finally at this place where I'm like, oh, I learn what something means like several weeks after it's a new thing. I've become old now. It's happening. It's happening in real time.
Very pleasant.
So tonight, these candidates have a big opportunity to break out of the pack and to explain why they are best prepared to be the Republican choice for president.
And just as a reminder, Trump declined to go. He was invited and he just decided not to.
At a time when the likely Democrat nominee, President Joe Biden, is working to convince the country that with Bidenomics, things are looking up.
They call my plan Bidenomics. I'm not sure they meant it in a totally complimentary way at the time. But guess what? It's working.
But is it? More than 65% of Americans.
Luxander be like, I am become old, the non-understander of memes. Honestly, yeah, what happens is you take a little bit of time away from the internet and then you come back and you're like, it's been a week and this place is damn near unrecognizable.
Say the country is headed in the wrong direction. And here's the reality for some voters we talked to here in Wisconsin this week.
We have noticed a dramatic increase in prices at the grocery store just across the board.
Gas is high and food is high. A lot of people's out here homeless because they can't buy food.
It's tough when you got mortgage rates at 7-8% versus 2 to 3. It's just you can't afford a house anymore.
Inflation is ridiculous. It's killing us out here.
As we sit here tonight, the number one.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can't say that whatever Biden has tried to do to the economy is working for me right now. It's not really working for me. It's the Gandalf walking around Moria. I have no memory of this place. Yeah, basically. Just walking around like, oh God, what's happening? Oh man. I'll take any comparison to Gandalf too. I fucking love Gandalf. And Sir Ian also is the best. The hypocrisy of Fox News complaining about homelessness, considering how they dehumanize homeless people daily. Well, because they have a problem with homelessness economically because they don't think that homeless people are okay to have around, you know? They hate homeless people. So if there's an increase in homelessness, That's why they're going to complain about it. Not because it's harming people, but because they don't like to see homeless people.
One song on the Billboard.
The prices are so high because of corporate price gouging. Yeah, of course. But like, surely there must be some kind of mechanism. But that's the problem, I think, in the capitalist system, is that there isn't a mechanism for like checking that. If the corporations are setting prices super high, like, I think that it would be, you could probably easily argue that it would be illegal. It would be government overreach in a way to like set prices. Or at least I think that conservatives could make that argument. An increase in homelessness is just an increase in pests to Republicans. Yeah, it's an increase in undesirables. Just like they're against immigration because it's like an increase in undesirables.
Board chart is called Rich Men North of Richmond.
What?
It is by a singer. As we sit here tonight, the #1 song on the Billboard chart is called Rich Men North of Richmond. It is by a singer from Farmville, Virginia, named Oliver Anthony.
What is
His
this?
lyrics speak of alienation, of deep frustration with the state of government and of this country.
Okay.
Washington, D.C. is about 100 miles.
That song is so stupid. I missed the anti-welfare song. Oh, no. I don't know what we're talking about. Oliver Anthony was like, everyone on this stage is a rich man north of Richmond. Oliver Anthony released a video, said, why the heck would they use my song? I wrote it about these people on the stage. They were going to play a bit of it in a second. Well, thanks for warning me, because I do want to skip that part.
Miles north of Richmond.
No, please shut up. No.
Nerve
Okay, thank
in
you.
this country right now. What do you think it means?
It's saying fat people getting assistance is making people poor instead of like literally anything else. Wasn't it Sweden? Then Sweden just did a, Sweden was like, we've tried a UBI and here's our results after doing it for like 1 year. Or it can't have been Sweden, or else Max would have been talking about it in the Discord server. Finland, maybe? We could read the lyrics if you want. Yeah, but I want to do the debate. It's going to be 2 hours long. I'll cover the song some other time. The ginger guy who blamed fat people on welfare for the problems in America. Anthony really did a 180, though. He's got no coherent ideology. He hates Republicans, but he also thinks Jews did 9/11. Oh my god. That's crazy. Like, Evie, hello! Evie is here. Everybody give loves and hypers to Evie, because Evie is the one who made it possible for our stream to look so fucking badass today. So, I don't know if Evie takes commissions, but if you have like a link that you want to post, I am 100%. I want you to do that all the time. I should, if you have a link to a commissions page, EB, I should make a bot command for it, because I shout you out consistently, and you deserve lots of income. I will add lyrics to Stream Rex for another day then. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I do want to cover it, but I want to cover it, like, in more depth. There's also an argument that fixed prices lead to shortages, which is sometimes true, but actually it's more that price gouging can create an alternative supply of overpriced goods for rich people that can afford it for goods that are already in shortage. See car dealerships during the COVID supply issues. That's a good point. I don't, unfortunately, because it's so hard to figure out my commission price. I just donate my time when I can. Okay, EB doesn't accept money for any of the work that she does, apparently. So, it's difficult to figure out what your prices should be, I suppose. Just set them high, and then people who really want your work will buy it from you. And then, like, anytime you do work, you know you're going to get paid well, you know? And you'll turn away a lot of people who you like, if you're trying to keep your workload down. Thinking that a few bad politicians are the problem and not the system. Yeah, I mean, is itself like a problem. Yeah, true. Okay.
Our country is in decline. This decline is not inevitable. It's a choice. We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and reverse American decline. And it starts with understanding we must reverse Bidenomics so that middle-class families have a chance to succeed again. We cannot succeed as a country.
Also, if we're looking at the tax differences, like, isn't it true that, like, it typically takes a couple, like, they make a tax change, but then it doesn't, if you only have a 4-year presidency, then the tax change doesn't actually go into effect usually until like the next guy is about to take the presidency. So when we had like shitty tax changes under Trump, like I think it was twice he did something that changed like taxes. So like that's part of why income tax returns suck balls the last couple years. Like, so if we're seeing something bad in the economy during Biden's presidency, it's a lot of the time the result of what the last person's Congress actually put into place. Vosh is entirely convinced the guy with that Rich Guys North of Richmond song is astroturfed. Yeah. Anyway.
If you are working hard and you can't afford groceries, a car, or a new home while Hunter Biden can make hundreds of thousands of dollars on lousy paintings, that is wrong. We also cannot succeed when the Congress spends trillions and trillions of dollars. Those rich men north of Richmond have put us in this situation. And finally, we need to lower your gas prices. We're going to open up all energy production. We will be energy dominant again in this country.
We're going to do as much oil mining on U.S. soil as possible is what that reads to me.
I showed it could be done in the state of Florida. I pledge to you as your president, we will get the job done, and I will not let you down.
Oh my God, that's it. The delayed smile. That's the one that I kept seeing on Twitter.
I pledge to you as your president, we will get the job done, and I will not let you down.
Look at it again. The delay. Oh my God, it's horrible.
Governor Christie, do you agree with Governor DeSantis just said there, and why would you be better on the economy than him?
Well, look, I do agree predominantly with what Governor DeSantis just laid out. I think that if you asked every one of us up here, that we would agree predominantly with what he just laid out. Here's the difference. The difference is that we're going to have to work and make sure that we sell these ideas and be able to put ourselves in a position where we get a majority of the vote.
What is on his tie? Is it a bunch of like little animals? Like something, it's like a little elephant holding a flag or something. I can't really tell what it is.
Not only by winning the Congress and the Senate in 24, but also by having someone who's had the experience of doing it. Now, I was elected as a conservative Republican in a blue state with 61% of the vote, with a Democratic legislature against me the entire time. And we still, through hard, strong decision making.
I feel like that's a pretty strong argument for yourself. If you're like, I got 61% of the vote as a Republican in a blue state, that's pretty good.
Brought them around to our point of view. We cut taxes in New Jersey. We cut debt in New Jersey. We made sure that each and every time we were confronted with bad Democratic ideas, we stood and stopped them. And when there were good ideas, we brought people together to make progress going forward. Truth and accountability are the things we need to do to fight waste. And I'd say the last thing is this, Brett. We cannot sit by any longer and allow the kind of spending that's going on in Washington, because every dollar they spend is a dollar that these people are not allowed to spend on their children and their grandchildren. It's robbing our country, and it's wrong.
Well, Governor, let me just follow up very quickly. New Jersey, when you...
True, but he is also now wildly unpopular, and I don't think got reelected. Okay, fair enough, yeah. Yeah, I mean, people rag on Chris Christie a lot. He definitely doesn't have, like, good riz amongst the Republicans. This dude thinks Republican voters care about spending or economics. I mean, we can still, I guess, hope that there's a lot of idiots out there who mostly are still Republican because they think that it's about spending or economics, you know? Like, appealing to the people who are mostly like, I don't like that my taxes are higher than they used to be, you know?
Your governor had the second lowest credit rating in the nation after Illinois, and it was downgraded 11 times.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what happens when you inherit a blue state that has done that. But when you look at what we did on debt, Brett, in that state, we cut debt in that state, debt that had been left to us by 3 Democratic...
I think a lot of them vote Republican because that's just what they do. I mean, fair enough. They don't really think about it too hard.
Gubernatorial predecessors of mine who ran up that debt tremendously. And what you also saw us do was to cut the unemployment rate in half. It was over 10% when I became governor in 2010. What we also did was cut pension payments to public employees to make sure that taxpayers were not being soaked by a public employee union system that was killing the taxpayer.
Thank you, Governor.
Senator Scott, excuse me. The song also goes after welfare programs. As a senator, now President Biden argued for freezing federal spending, this was back in the 80s, and dealing with sacred cows. He does not talk about that anymore. You have been a senator, though, for 10 years. So what have you done to rein in the increasing size of government?
Well, thank you for the question. Over the last several years, I've had an opportunity to vote against spending package after spending.
I like how in all of these Republican things, like, so with the very first Republican primary debate, we have the token woman and the token black dude. Like, and then there's also a different brown guy. What is he, like Indian or something like that? I'm not really sure because I didn't even catch his name earlier. Yeah, true. Asking the black guy about welfare. I think a lot of them vote Republican. Yeah, so his name is Vivek. It rhymes with cake. And yes, he's Indian. Okay, cool. Yeah. Hold on, let me take this back a second. The woman is also Indian? Oh, really? I did not see Vivek's rap. I did not. Is it bad? Oh, I bet it's bad.
In the increasing size of government.
Well, thank you for the question. Over the last several years, I've had an opportunity to vote against spending package after spending package after spending package. What we also need to understand is that Joe Biden's Bidenomics has led to the loss of $10,000 of spending power for the average family. When you see 16% inflation, your gas is up 40%, your food is up 20%, your electricity is up 20%. We can stop that by turning the spigot off in Washington, sending the money back to the states, and allowing the decisions to be made at their own houses. I helped write the...
What? How is gas prices relevant to tax going down? Like, what? How is there being... This is the thing that doesn't make any goddamn sense with these Republicans, and it doesn't make sense because it isn't... It's because it doesn't make sense. Like, the more money that you spend into taxes is more money that you can invest in your communities, and, like, more money that you can use to regulate the prices in industries. Right wing not understanding how gas works. True. I've seen old Christian ladies rap better than him.
The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017. We cut taxes for a single mom like the one that raised me by 70%, for dual households by 60%, returning to the average family $4,000. If you don't send it to Washington, we can't spend it. That's good news for the American people.
Okay, but just to follow up, you did, during the Trump administration, you approved $4.4 trillion, $4.1 trillion, $1.7 trillion over the course of that administration. That's a lot of money.
There's no doubt that during the Trump administration, when we were dealing with the COVID virus, we spent more money. But here's what happened at the end of our...
Yeah, past tense on the COVID again.
Time in the majority. We had low unemployment, record low unemployment, 3.5% for the majority of the population, 70-year low for women. African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians had an all-time low, but our inflation was at 2%. Under Joe Biden, we've seen the exact opposite. We've seen inflation explode, which led to 12 Federal Reserve increases that's devastating home buyers today.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you're listening to these answers.
If I may, that was our administration, so I don't know if I get a chance to respond.
He didn't mention you specifically, but we'll be with you in a second, Mr. Vice President. Mr.
Pence just trying to jump in there. Okay, there's a link to this dude's rap in the stream Rex. Okay. It's Vivek, right? Again, we're talking about the Indian one. The Indian one is the one who brought up, like, we're talking about, oh God, what are they doing? They're talking about institutionalizing people again, right? Like, this is something that we're going to end up having to pause and talk about later. Stream Rex, that's where I am. Okay, he rapped on Fox News. Why? Why have you done this?
I've seen the video. You were a libertarian rapper. Explain that, Mr. Ramaswamy.
Well, look, the things they're digging up, they're going deep. And I have to say, some of these opposition research stories are false, but I will confirm that one is true. I was a little bit of a libertarian freestyler in college and had some fun with it.
Do you remember any of that rap, or do you have some freestyling to do today, Vivek?
Well, it's not like a kind of thing you remember, right? You just say what you're inspired to say. So, you know, I like, that's kind of what I'm doing on the campaign trail in some sense, is freestyling my message.
All right, very good. Go ahead.
You want to join us on the campaign trail? You want to join us on the campaign trail? You can do that. I often open up. I say, my name's Vivek. It rhymes with cake. It ain't about thee. It isn't about me. It is about thee. The United States is about liberty. So, Fox and friends, join us on the trail. We'll have some fun. I'll see you out the trail.
Very nicely
That was deeply embarrassing. Man, you can't freestyle. I'm sorry. That's not a skill that you have. Freestyling is not... It's not on the table. It's not on the table. It's deeply embarrassing. Oh, no. Hello, Max. Simply here to say hi, but have a fever and some sick kids to take care of. Have fun, and I wish you many monies. Thank you! I appreciate it, Max. Take care of your babies. Take care of the babies. Yes, he rhymed trail with trail. It was ridiculous. Spoiler, he claims to be the one against, quote, the climate agenda, when not like a year ago he was saying climate change is real and we need to do more for it. So he's a huge loser. Grifters, as per usual.
Ramaswamy, listening to all of this, why should voters choose you over more experienced politicians on this stage? You're basically, a blank slate for people. You're 38 years old. You've said that you only voted in 2 presidential elections before this moment, this political race.
So first, let me just address a question that is on everybody's mind at home tonight. Who the heck is this skinny guy with a funny last name, and what the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage? I'll tell you, I'm not a politician, Brett. You're right about that. I'm an entrepreneur. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago.
Oh, great.
I have gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream. And I am genuinely worried that that American dream will not exist for our 2 sons and their generation unless we do something about it. And I do think Brett is going to take an outsider, because for a long time we have professional politicians in the Republican Party who have been running from something. Now is our moment to start running to something, to our vision of what it means to be an American today. If you have a broken car, you don't turn over the keys to the people who broke it again. You hand it over to a new generation to actually fix the problem. That's why I'm in this race, and we're just getting warmed up.
I mean, I feel like that's a pretty strong opener. Except for the fact that he's a business guy. Politics shouldn't be a career. That's what leads to grifters. I really don't think that that's the problem. I'm going to be one of those people who says, I actually think that being good at governance is a thing that we want, which doesn't mean necessarily that we want, every single person who's in the government to be career politicians or whatever. But, I feel like you can be good at a thing. And, the problem is the money in politics. Yes, exactly, James. The problem is that they are able to profit by it, that you can buy off a politician as a corporation and get them to do what you want them to do, He goes full supervillain over the course of this panel. Yeah, I've heard this. Excuse me. The dream already doesn't exist for most people's kids. Yeah, most adults, the American dream does not exist. Bernie Sanders is a career politician, for example. Yeah, I think that you can be good at governing and, keep it as your job. But I think that, you should consult with and maybe have, a number of people who you're let's just pull in, a doctor. We need at least 2 actual medical doctors representing the nation this year or something, I don't think that would be a bad idea. I think that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez being a bartender means that she's bringing a working class view into the political game. And so, yeah, I think that that's good, but I don't think that conversely that it's bad that, that there are career politicians, in general. I'm of the opinion that once you go into politics, that should be your only career. Legally, you should be barred from making any money outside of your job in politics for the rest of your life. Immediately vested pensions, so you have a comfortable life. But if you make any money outside of that, you go to prison. That's an interesting take. I never really thought about that. I kind of see what you mean. Tipster, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Enjoy your dicks and your fun color name. Yeah, because part of the problem is that you can, you'll do what this corporation asked you to do, and then you'll leave politics, and then you'll have a cozy job at that company that paid you off anyway, we need someone whose job in the government is to go, what the fuck are you doing? And then slap people and make them stop. True facts. Okay. Number go up. Brr. Oh, I need my chat back open. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You better, Haley. So why are you better positioned to turn around this economy that we've heard all of these voters talking about tonight than Mr. Ramaswamy, who is a successful entrepreneur nationally right now? He's beating you in the polls.
Well, I don't care about polls. What I care about the fact is that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Our Republicans did this to us, too. When they passed that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill, they left us with 90 million people on Medicaid, 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to.
She's like, it was a problem to approve COVID relief. Wow, she is a demon. Oh, no.
Stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing. They need to eliminate the earmarks that the Republicans brought back in. And they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's not their dollars. And while they're all saying this, you have Ron DeSantis, you've got Tim Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all.
Of course, none of them are going to talk about all of the like pandemic loans that they gave to businesses and then forgave those like tens or hundreds of thousands of dollar loans for the businesses. She had me for about 0.3 seconds and then she went off the rails.
Voted to raise the debt, and Donald Trump added $8 trillion to our debt. And our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024 budget, Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
Vice President Pence?
Okay, I guess that's a strong argument.
You were
It's time for an accountant in the White House.
54% of voters say the cost of groceries is a, quote, major problem for them.
Right.
You blamed the Biden administration spending for that increase. But as vice president, your administration spent more than any prior, $7.8 trillion added to the national debt, $3.5 trillion of that before COVID. So does that mean that you're part of the spending problem?
Well, first off, thanks for the question. Thanks for letting me respond to a reference to our administration's record. I'm incredibly proud of the record of the Trump-Pence administration. I mean, in 4 short years, we rebuilt.
Mike Pence, you talk too slow. You only have like 30 seconds.
Our military. We revived our economy. We unleashed American energy. And we appointed 3 conservatives to the Supreme Court that gave the American people a new beginning for the right to life.
Oh, my God. He mentioned abortion. Why is Pence even there? I mean, he's trying to run.
Martha, you asked earlier who's the most best prepared for this job. And I must say, with all due respect to all of my friends on the stage, and even to one that's probably looking on, I think unquestionably I am the best prepared, the most tested, the most qualified and proven conservative in this race. I was a leader in the Congress of the United States. I led Indiana where we balanced budgets and had a AAA bond rating when I was governor. And as Vice President of the United States, we spent funding to backfill on the military cuts of the Obama administration, and then we were there in the worst pandemic in 100 years. All that being said, I was the first person in this race to say that we've got to deal with the long-term national debt issues. You got people on this stage that won't even talk about issues like Social Security and Medicare. I mean, Vivek, you recently said...
yes, which I am very concerned about because I am old.
President can't do everything. Well, I got news for you, Vivek. I've been in the hallway. I've been in the West Wing. A president...
Thank you, Mickey, just dropping a like and back to mowing. Have a good stream, y'all. Yes, we appreciate the likes. If you haven't already liked the stream, maybe take the second to do that, and maybe a couple more people will show up. You know, more people equals more views equals more likes, more likes equals more views. It's an Ouroboros.
In the United States has to confront every crisis facing America. I will put our nation back on the path to growth and prosperity and restore fiscal responsibility, just as I did in Congress and as governor,
Mr. Vice President.
and when I was vice president.
But we've had to respond to that.
You were named earlier. I'm going to give
too many people talking at once.
Vivek first.
We'll get to both of them.
This isn't that complicated, guys. Unlock American energy. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear.
Oh, I can't believe people are cheering for fracking. Oh, man. That's rough. You know people don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
To work by no longer paying them more to stay at home. Reform the U.S. Fed, stabilize the U.S. dollar, and go to war. The only war that I will declare as U.S. president will be the war on the federal administrative state that is the source of those toxic regulations acting like a wet blanket on the economy. So I'm not sure I exactly understood Mike Pence's comment, but...
He really is a villain. He's on his villain arc. He's going to be like, let's deregulate everything and start fracking in everybody's backyard. Oh, no.
I'll let you all parse that out. For me, it's pretty simple. That's something a U.S. president can do with focus, and I'll deliver on it.
Let me explain it to you. Vivek, if I can. I'll go slower this time.
I sometimes struggle with the reading
Look,
comprehension.
I was a House conservative leader before it was cool. I actually pushed a Deficit Reduction Act. That was the last time we actually reduced the national debt in the United States, when I was the leader of House Conservatives. I balanced budgets and cut taxes when I was governor. I mean, look, Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people without experience. We need to bring
The mixture of boos and cheers. Wow.
It's 30 seconds when you have a rebuttal, okay? And you are up, Governor DeSantis.
So here's the thing. Why are we in this mess? Part of it, and a major reason, is because how this federal government handled COVID-19 by locking down this economy. It was a mistake. It should have never happened. And in Florida, we led the country out of lockdown.
Yeah, there was no actual lockdown. I feel like maybe, you know, when people complain about relatively minor inconveniences in their lives, I'm like, oh, so what we should do is do something horrible to you and make your life exponentially worse than the thing that you were complaining about, and then you will actually understand what adversity means. Like, I'm like, why are you so fucking whiny about not being able to have a peasant give you a haircut, you fucking psychopath, you know? Like, why do you need to LARP by going to the restaurant and, like, you know, revoking a person's pay because you didn't like the look on their face or something? You know what I mean? Like, Florida had some of the most deaths in the entire country from COVID. Yeah, we're not going to talk about the deaths themselves. Like, unless they can accuse Biden of, unless they can say there were more deaths under Biden for COVID, they're not going to bring it up at all. I was just reading something that was like, mass death has been politicized in this way, where, like, you know, Democrats won't mention that a shit ton of people die in a wildfire situation. Like, they're not even talking about climate change on the news because it reflects badly on Biden right now, you know? But then if a Republican gets in office, the certain news people who are trying not to hurt Biden, they might start being like, oh, under Trump's or under whoever, under this Republican president, we have so much wildfires and stuff, you know, they're not doing enough on the climate, but they don't mention that, like, Biden isn't doing anything on the climate. If I had Superman powers, I would use my I-beams to permanently weld face masks on these people. Yeah, like, imagine that your biggest problem about, you're like, oh, the thing that's wrong with this country right now is that masks are about to come back. Personally, I loved the lockdowns. I had an excuse to be antisocial for once in my life. You still have an excuse to be antisocial for the rest of your life. You know, just to be clear, you don't have to stop being a recluse because COVID is still a thing. You can just tell people, like, you might be stupid and want to get sick over and over again until you can't get out of bed anymore, but that's not what I'm going to choose to do. So have fun, you know? Modern U.S. conservatism denies that systems exist. It's just the way things are. True, truly. British Columbia still has semi-lockdowns at the moment because of all the smoke pollution. I mean, yeah, you're going to need an N95 outside anyway because of the increased wildfires everywhere. I live in Kansas, and more often than not, we have a hazy sky during the day. Like, more often than not, we do not have clear blue skies, even when it's not cloudy, because there is just like a thin haze of smoke over most of the continental U.S. Like, there are some areas in, like, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico that, for whatever reason, because of the weather patterns across the nation, like, they don't have a thin layer of smoke over them. They have the highest, like, AQI in the country, basically, because, yeah, like, everywhere else, literally everywhere else, we don't even really get wildfires here for the most part. It's literally just smoke from elsewhere swirling around. It's nice being in Philly and seeing at least some people wearing masks. Almost nobody did in Idaho. I went to the liquor store a couple days ago, and as I was walking out, there was like a couple people who walked in and they were wearing masks, and I'm like, that's good shit. Our skies in Texas are always clear blue during the day and cloudy at night because we have a huge amount of humidity that can't rain while it's so hot. Oh man, yeah, that's not fun.
We kept our state free and open, and I can tell you this, as your president, I will never let the deep state bureaucrats lock you down. You don't take somebody like Fauci and coddle him. You bring Fauci in, you sit him down, and you say, Anthony, you are fired.
You pulling a Trump. You're fired. You're fired.
You know what? We're going to bring in. I just want to finish responding to Mike. I just want to respond to Mike for 1 second because he invoked me back. Listen, now that everybody's gotten their memorized, pre-prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually have a real discussion now. The reality and the fact of the matter is...
Was that one of yours?
Not really, Mike, actually. We're just going to have some fun tonight. And the reality is, you have a bunch of people, professional politicians, super PAC puppets, following slogans handed over to them by their 400-page super PACs last week. The real choice we face in this primary is this. Do you want a super...
I feel like that's pretty savage and also true. Like this guy, you know, criticizing the super PACs as a concept because he's like, I'm a businessman. I don't need super PACs. I'm just going to tell you what I think instead of what the briefing that they gave me on what I'm supposed to say. He's literally criticizing Trump for not firing him without actually saying Trump's name because he wants to sit on that fence. Yeah, maybe later on I'm going to have to suck up and be the vice president or something.
Super PAC puppet. Or do you want a patriot who speaks the
Trump did that too. Yeah, criticizing the super PACs.
Truth. Do you want incremental reform, which is what you're hearing about, or do you want revolution? Okay. And I stand on the side of the American revolution.
We're going to take control back here.
We need everyone to...
Okay, interesting. He wants to dramatically dismantle a lot of important systems. Revolution. He wants to do a revolution. This is a scary kind of revolution where we deregulate everything all of a sudden.
Have a moment on the economy.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Can I address the
There are
COVID
two
issues
people
that
who
the
have
governor
not.
brought
We're
up?
going to get back to that. We are. There are two people who we have not heard from yet. So let's hear from Governor Burgum and then from Governor Hutchinson on the economy, sir.
Well, great. Thank you, Martha. And of course, I'm from
those people are just like not in the running apparently.
A town of 300 people. It's a big deal to make it on this stage with all these folks. But when they were all wishing me well, and I think I took them a little too literally when they said, go to Milwaukee and break a leg. So, but I do want to say on this, we're missing something. We can't just talk about the Biden economy because the economy, energy, and national security are all tied together. Of course, we're paying too much for our energy in our state, in our country right now. But part of the reason why is because of the Biden policies on energy. We've got a plan right now. The $1.2 trillion of Green New Deal spending buried in the Inflation Creation Act is something that is just subsidizing China. If we're going to stop buying oil from the Middle East and start buying batteries from China, we're just trading OPEC for Sinopec. And then belatedly, the Biden administration says, no, we're going to put sanctions on Russian oil. Well, we put sanctions on Russian oil. Well, then it's 20% off. Who's buying it? China. So if you buy a battery in this country, you buy a solar panel, it's being produced in a plant in China powered by coal, or it's being powered by oil and gas at 20% off. And every farmer in this country would like to buy diesel at 20% off, just like they're buying it in China.
Governor Hutchinson, quickly.
Thank you, Grant. Delighted to be here tonight. And let me just tell you that I'm a pro-life governor from a conservative state that have a conservative...
I feel like I remember seeing this guy. Is this guy the one who was questioning Ketanji Brown Jackson, and he's the one who brought up, he insinuated that the Supreme Court stepping in on gay marriage was an overstep, and that was one of the, I think that he was the one who was like, he was the guy who I was like, oh, hey, that guy wants to roll back all of these things. That's the one? Yeah. I am shocked that I remembered him, because otherwise I would not have had any fucking idea who this dude was. He looks like the Joker's dad. Yeah, thank you, Anansi, for the confirmation. He's not actually balding. They just taped his face back so far that his hairline wound up there. True, yeah. He's too sag. Too sag. Oh, thank you, Tipster, earlier. I don't need that notification up anymore. He's pro-birth, not pro-life. Of course, pro-life people are never they're pro-white birth rates. Well, you also have to be pro-black birth rates to an extent because you need, people in prisons to do your work for you.
Record in which I lowered taxes in Arkansas as governor. I created a $2 billion surplus that I passed over to my successor, and I made sure that we shrunk the size of government. We have 14% fewer state employees in Arkansas after I left government than when I took over as governor 8 years ago. I tell that because that's what we need in Washington, D.C.
But I do also remember that this guy, he was the governor of Arkansas, which I think that he sort of symbolically didn't sign, like he symbolically vetoed an anti-trans law, and they had the veto-proof majority. But he was like, I just am not comfortable with the government stepping in and making these healthcare decisions. So he also did something kind of okay within the last year.
We need somebody who can actually constrain the growth of the federal government, that can actually reduce the size, and I've pledged to reduce by 10%.
He's definitely not based. No, for sure not.
Our federal non-defense workforce. That's a specific pledge to make that attacks the administrative state. And let me applaud some of the business partners that are here that have had success in business. But let me tell you, I've been a federal prosecutor. I've served our country in terms of being head of the DEA, in Homeland Security, in times of crisis. And while I think that that's experience that is important for the future of our country, to be the president of the United States that can lead with positive solutions and be held accountable.
Thank you. We have a lot of topics to get to, and I promise we're going to get to everyone if we play within the rules.
Politically for him.
Next topic. More than 1,000 people.
I guess that's fair, yeah, because it's showing that it's not very popular in the polls, even amongst Republicans, to be like this violently anti-trans. And we all know that like that topic doesn't come up a lot in this debate, which is shocking considering like how popular of a Republican discussion point that is across the nation. Like it's actually like a really messed up lack of representation that they don't go into that in very much detail during this debate.
People are still unaccounted for in Maui after the deadliest U.S. wildfire in more than a century. Hawaii's governor
climate change.
And White House officials said that climate change amplified the cost of human error.
And a tropical storm hit California for the first time in 84 years. The ocean hit 101 degrees off the coast of Florida. And in the last month, the heat wave in the Southwest broke records.
Dude, imagine the ocean being 101 degrees. What? This gives me the same vibes as Price is Right. His eyebrow is clearly Botox. His face is definitely tighter than it should be.
Nearly 50 years old.
So Alexander Diaz from Young America's Foundation has a question for you all.
Polls consistently show that young people's #1 issue is climate change. How will you, as both President of the United States and leader of the Republican Party, calm their fears that the Republican Party doesn't care about climate change?
So we want to start on this with a show of hands.
I like how that question, just like, even though it was a Republican guy talking to Republicans, like, you know, he treated climate change like it is a real thing, and now we're going to see a bunch of climate change denialism. It's going to be great.
Do you believe in human behavior is causing climate change? Raise your hand if you do.
Look, we're not school children. Let's have the debate. I mean, I'm happy to take it to start. Alexander?
So do you want to raise your hand or not?
I don't think that's the way to do. So let me just say to Alexander this. First of all, one of the reasons our country's decline is because of the way the corporate media treats Republicans versus Democrats. Biden was on the beach while those people were suffering. He was asked about it. He said no comment. Are you kidding me? As somebody that's handled disasters in Florida, you got to be activated. You've got to be there. You've got to be present. You've got to be helping people who are doing this. And here's the deal.
Let's just answer the question.
So is that a yes or is that a yes? Is that a hand raise?
You do not.
I think it was a hand raise for him, and it's my hands are in my pockets.
No, I didn't raise a hand.
Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax, and we have to declare independence for it. And the reality is, the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is, more people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley,
Oh, wow. This dude is a psychopath.
Hold on.
He got mega booed. Yeah. Everybody else on the panel is like, whoa. You're insinuating that we're all bought and paid for. This guy is not playing like he's gonna be the leader of the Republican Party. Like, you can't shit talk your people like that, because someday you're gonna have to, like, if you're gonna get elected president, you're gonna have to shake hands with these people and have them help you do your stuff. Yeah, of course, everybody cheers the climate denialism.
Listen.
I've had enough.
Wait, hold on.
I've had enough. I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here. And the last person in one of these debates, Brad, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Give me a hot just like you did to Obama.
The same type of amateur.
And you'll help elect me just like you did to Obama, too. Give me that
the same type of amateur.
Hold on.
Oh, wow.
Governor Haley.
They keep talking over each other. This is, like, are the Democrats going to do this too? Are the Democrats going to be just as clownish as this? Absolutely roasted, though. I live in Louisiana, which is notorious for seafood, and I have never had more fun seeing crabs in a bucket. Oh my God. Roasting him stealing a line from Obama speeches. The DNC is not hosting a primary. There won't be debates. Oh yeah, I guess that's fair. They're just gonna plan to do Biden, aren't they? They're just not going to do it at all. Man, that sucks. This is like my house on Thanksgiving, as me being the only leftist in the corner. Which is normal. I mean, yeah, but like, he's so old, and everybody is not happy with him. Like, come on.
Would you like to respond?
He's not even going to switch VP. Come on, you got to at least switch VP. And yet again, our choices are center-right corporatist and far-right fascist, who is literally currently getting charged.
Deserves. Are you bought and paid
what
for?
I would like to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. First of all, we do care about clean air, clean water. We want to see that taken care of, but there's a right way to do it. And the right way to do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change the environment, then we need to start telling China and India that they have to lower their emissions. That's where our problem is. And these green subsidies that Biden has put in, all he's done is help China, because he doesn't understand all these electric vehicles that he's done. What that does, half of the batteries for electric vehicles are made in China. And so that's not helping the environment. You're putting money in China's pocket. And Biden,
I guess that's a fair enough point. I don't really care about the whole putting money in China's pocket thing per se, but it's like, yeah, if you're gonna try to move to renewable energy and you're like, oh, well, we are cutting all of our emissions here, but then like in order to do that somewhere else on the planet, they're having to use a shit ton of coal in order to produce that stuff. Like, I guess I can see how that's an option, like, or how that's an argument here. Thatcher was a monster. Oh yeah, of course. You know, like, notoriously, Thatcher is truly well hated in history, as far as but I'm a leftist, so most of what I hear about Margaret Thatcher is from leftists. They already said they don't care about climate change. Well, so, yeah, each person is now getting to respond and be like, do I believe in climate change? They should. Ron DeSantis jumped in before they could just do a show of hands. Everybody show of hands if you believe in. But nobody was jumping to put their hand up either, so maybe none of them believe in climate change.
Did that. So, first of all, I think we need to acknowledge the truth, which is these subsidies are not working. We also need to take on the international world and say, okay, India and China, you've got to stop polluting, and that's when we'll start to deal with
Senator Scott, are you bought and paid for?
Absolutely.
At least Thatcher wasn't transphobic. Yeah, exactly. She made her grave designated as a gender-neutral toilet. What an ally.
You bought and paid for it.
I'm sorry?
Are you bought and paid
Absolutely not. I mean, here's what the American people deserve, is a debate about the issues that affect their lives. Going back and forth being childish is not helpful to the American people to decide on the next leader of our country. Number one. Wait a second. Number two, as a kid who grew up in a single-parent household mired in poverty, I wondered, was the American dream real for kids who were devastated by poverty, devastated by the challenges of life? I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone what she's done for me if we focus on restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting America. If we want the environment to be better, and we all do, the best thing to do is to bring our jobs home from China. If we create 10 million new jobs in my Made in America plan, we will have a better economy and a better environment. Let me tell you why I say that, Brett. America,
do it quickly.
America has cut. I'm a Southern boy, I talk slow. So America, that was quick. America has cut our carbon footprint in half in the last 25 years. The places where they are continuing to increase, Africa, 950 million people. India, over 1 billion. China, over 1 billion. Why would we put ourselves at a disadvantage? Devastating our own economy. Let's bring our jobs home.
We have a lot of different topics to get to.
Yeah, we do. We thank you all. Thank you, Senator Scott. So coming up next, the candidates will weigh in on what could be a defining issue in the 2024 campaign. The first Republican debate continues.
This is a fun circus. I mean, yeah, we're here to have fun. Who knows which one? I don't even know. Is one of these clowns going to end up being the person?
Abortion has been a losing issue for Republicans since the Dobbs decision. In 6 state referendums.
Or are we pretty sure that it's going to be Trump? After seeing this, like, I was worried about Ron DeSantis before, but he clearly is not capable of running human.exe successfully. So is it going to be Trump, do we think? Trump will just win the nomination from jail. Do you think that he'll be convicted? It's going to be Trump, which is hilarious because he'll be in Georgia prison come election day. Like, he's allowed to run during, like, the prison stuff. Like, not like, yeah, he's allowed to run, but is he allowed to, he can't be president if he's in prison. Not one of them has a chance. I'm not looking forward to 2024. Trump will not see a day in jail. He can run from jail, but can he be president from jail? I don't know if he can. The only requirement is that you're over 35 and a natural citizen, so there's nothing stopping him but the voters. Fair enough. Okay, so actually, I do not think there is anything in the Constitution or the law that says someone with a prison sentence can't be president. I think it's an untested situation. Yeah, but like, I mean, like, yeah, I guess if you are in prison, are you able to execute your duties? Or like, because there are other qualifications of like, you can't, like, if you are unable to perform your duties, then you can be removed from office, right? Like if you become so sick that you can't, if you have like dementia and you can't, whatever, like, yeah, it would be hard for him to take the oath of office if he physically can't be there. Anyway, I'm going to give you to the bugs for a second, and I'm just going to go to the bathroom, and then I'll come back. So have fun with the bugs for the time being. Okay, I'm back. Hello. Hello. Have you had any water recently? Because I have. And now I'm going to drink even more water. Yes. Yes.
All have upheld abortion rights in this country.
Oh, abortion,
and
cool.
even in red states, there are more swing state referendums that are coming up as we head into the elections as well on this. So, Governor Haley, what do you say to your party and to your state, which today confirmed a 6-week abortion law as well, especially the impact on women suburban voters across this country?
Thank you, Martha. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children, so I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, we need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal, because it's personal for every woman and man. Now it's been put in the hands of the people. That's great. When it comes to a federal ban, let's be honest with the American people and say it will take 60 Senate votes. It will take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus. Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions? Can't we all agree that we should encourage adoptions? Can't we all agree that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them? Can't we all agree that contraception should be available? And can't we all agree that we...
I'm surprised she didn't get any boos for saying that contraception should be available, though. TBH, I'm surprised. Nikki Haley trying to let the party know it's a losing strategy, but they aren't going to listen. Right. You were talking to the... I'm sorry for interrupting your commune with the bugs moment.
We are not going to put a woman in jail or give her the death penalty if she gets an abortion. Let's treat this like a respectful issue that it is and humanize the situation and stop demonizing the situation.
Brett, Governor, you're not mentioning
all the women.
Vice President Pence. Governor DeSantis, you signed a 6-week abortion ban in Florida. One of your biggest financial backers said that you need to, quote, shift to get moderates or you will lose. What do you say to him and others who say politically that is a tough thing to sell nationally?
Well, I would say we sold the biggest election landslide victory in the history of the Republican Party in the state of Florida in 2022. That's what I did. We can win. But second of all, look, you got to do what you think is right. I believe in a culture of life. I was proud to sign the heartbeat bill. I remember one of the most impactful moments of my life was when I heard the heartbeat of my oldest daughter in my wife's womb and then saw the sonograms of all three of my kids. What the Democrats are trying to do on this issue is wrong, to allow abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. I know a lady in Florida named Penny. She survived multiple abortion attempts. She was left discarded in a pan. Fortunately, her grandmother saved her and brought her to a different hospital. We're better.
Oh, that's a lie. That's not true. That's not right. There's no way. There's no way. 6 weeks isn't heartbeat. Yeah, of course. It's like twitching muscle tissue. Also funny hearing this out of someone who tortured inmates in Guantanamo. True. Baby guillotines.
Than what the Democrats are selling. We are not going to allow abortion all the way up.
Yeah, I'll take things that never happened for 300, Alex.
Up till birth, and we will hold them accountable for their extremism.
But just to be clear, Governor, would you sign a 6-week ban federally?
I'm going to stand on the side of life. Look, I understand Wisconsin is going to do it different than Texas. I understand Iowa and New Hampshire are going to do different. But I will support the cause of life as governor and as president.
Vice President Pence, you're shaking your head.
Have a national.
Hold on, Senator. Vice President Pence. You're shaking your head.
Well, look, I'm not new to this cause. After I gave my life to...
Listen, I have this on 1.25 speed, and I still feel like Pence is excruciatingly slow at talking.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I opened up the book, and I read, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And see, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life." And I knew from that moment on, the cause of life had to be my cause. And I've been a champion for life in the Congress, a champion for life as governor and as vice president. And to be honest with you, Nikki, you're my friend, but consensus is the opposite of leadership. When the Supreme Court returned this question to the American people, they didn't just send it to the states only. It's not a states-only issue. It's a moral issue. And I promise you, as President of the United States, the American people will have a champion for life in the Oval Office. Can't we have a minimum standard in every state in the nation that says when a baby is capable of feeling pain, an abortion cannot be allowed? A 15-week ban is an idea whose time has come. It's supported by 70% of the American people, but it's going to take unapologetic leadership.
There's no way that's true, that a 15-week ban is supported by a majority of people, unless you are fudging the question.
Leadership that stands on principle and expresses compassion for women in crisis pregnancies. I'll do that as President of the United States.
He called my name, so I want to respond to that. 30 seconds. So first of all, I will say it is in the hands of the people, and that's where it should be. But when you're talking about a federal ban, be honest with the American people. We haven't had 45 pro-life senators in over 100 years, so no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president could ban all those state laws. Don't make women feel like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't have 60 Senate votes in the House.
70% of the American people support legislation to ban abortion after a baby is capable of experiencing pain. It's just going to take leadership.
Hold on.
I feel like Nikki is like, you know, at least she's real about, like, honestly, she's probably the one who I like the most out of this particular spread. Like, even though I disagree with her on most of the issues, right? I do at least appreciate that she's like calling out, like, yeah, no, you know, you can't say, oh, it's all about Biden's spending because Trump's administration spent certain money, whatever, and then, like, yeah, you can claim that you want to pass a federal abortion ban at 15 weeks or whatever, but you know, she's like, you know for sure that we are not going to have the votes for that. So why are y'all campaigning on it as though you're going to make it happen? And like she said, like, you're acting as though you're going to make Republican women vote based on this issue. Like, no, we're not going to get a federal ban like that. Like, from her perspective, you know, assuming that something crazy doesn't happen and, like, they don't have the majority, you know? But, like, she's doing that as a way to flake off right-leaning Democrats who are on the fence. Oh, of course, yeah. Like, she's trying to make herself sound appealing to, more moderate centrist types, I guess, who are like, oh, I wouldn't vote Republican because they want to ban abortion. And she's like, well, we can't actually ban abortion, so vote for me instead anyway, you know? If Trump could make a federal ban, you can be certain he would have done it by now. Why would Trump give a shit about making abortion illegal? I don't really remember him ever talking about that. Abortion numbers double under pro-life policies. Yeah, because pro-life policies also, for some reason, always involve, like, lack of access to contraception and sex education. Like, pro-life people are abstinence-only people who will cut funding to sex ed, too. We don't have the votes as a placation that Dems are used to. I mean, that's true, too. Yeah.
% of the Senate
Governor
does not.
Bergman
You
here.
have to be honest with the
We have
American
to have
people.
a 15-week
All right,
limit.
let's get Governor Bergman for one minute here. But the Supreme Court did overturn Roe v. Wade, and the result of that decision was that it went back to the states. So that's where it is right now. So as I understand it, you
He's
are
got a
not
weird
in
smile,
favor
too.
of a federal ban. What do you say about the states? There's about 5 of them, including New Jersey, I think a few others, that allow abortion up until the time of birth, though. If you were president, would you be able to...
Is that actually... I don't think that that's actually true. It's not like abortion is allowed up until birth. I think it's like they don't prosecute you if for some horrible reason, like, you have to get the baby out of there because you're septic and the baby dies in the process or something, you know? Yes, hello, Silent. New overlay. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Shout outs to EB the Purple, who is simply the best. He did say he would appoint SCOTUS justices to make sure it could become illegal again. Rawr. True. If the fetus is viable at the point of birth, it's called a birth. Yeah, like, if the baby dies during a 3rd trimester procedure, that's like because the baby was gonna die anyway, you know?
abide that?
Well, first of all, I'm a pro-life governor of a very pro-life state. And this issue is, of course, very important. But I am on the record, and I stand behind, that we should not have a federal abortion ban. We should not. And the reason why we shouldn't is very simple. It's the 10th Amendment in the Constitution. In the Constitution, which the states created the federal government, not the other way around, it says that there were certain duties allowed to the federal government delegated to them by the states. The rest are left to the states, comma, or importantly, or to the people. We need to get back to freedom and liberty for the people in this country.
I feel like that's a decent argument to make, too. Like, comma, to the people. He brought a prop. Yeah, it's not uncommon for them to have a copy of the Constitution in their jacket pocket to, like, invoke during... I was just watching Vosh destroy someone trying to ban porn. We already know bans don't work. Yeah, we do need to have a serious conversation on stream soon about this, like Protect Kids on the Internet Act, whatever the fuck is going on. Let me try to... I don't know what it's called. The Kids Online Safety Act is, I think, still in the works, and it's like definitely gonna be the most gutting of quote unquote porn and like all that other kind of shit online in a way that is definitely gonna limit the existence of queer people online. So frankly, we need to talk about the Kids Online Safety Act because it could determine whether I will be able to have the job that I do in the future. Like, can I be on the internet as a queer person and have that not, like, labeled as, like, sexually deviant or, like, as a bad influence on children somehow, you know? So we need to talk about that soon. Dennis Kucinich was always whipping out his pocket constitution. It's a thing that they need to do. Like, yeah, they gotta virtue signal with their constitutions.
And we can't have Republicans who fight for 50 years for this great cause and to return it back to the states, and then the next day they turn around and go, no, the feds should do that, because the feds are stepping into people's lives, they're stepping into people's businesses over and over. If we say that the feds should be in on this one, where do we stop? I say that we follow the Constitution, and this is returned to the states. This is where it should be.
But Governor Burgum, you signed a 6-week ban. Time out. You signed a 6-week ban. Governor Burgum, you signed a 6-week ban. So you're saying federally, it's all going to go to the states.
Yes, and what is going to work in New York will never work in North Dakota, and vice versa. That's why 50 states. That's why 50 states.
This is too important of an issue that I have to address. First of all, the Supreme Court gave it back to the elected representatives, whether it's the states or whether it's the United States Congress. So there is authority, and that's why President Biden is pushing for a Democrat proposal, which is, in essence, abortion on demand through the term. So they have their extreme position at a national level. It's most likely going to be addressed in the states, but it's certainly fine for it to be addressed at the national level as well. Arkansas has the record of being the most pro-life state in the nation.
Just ignoring the constitutional argument, I guess.
I signed 30 pro-life pieces of legislation while I was governor. And every state can determine a different outcome here. And it is the most important issue for women and for the unborn child and for our country that we get this right. It's going to be
apparently abortion is the most important issue in this country. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is a big deal, obviously, but like I would not say that it is the biggest issue. to make it to try to make it illegal is what I'm saying.
Continued debate. Let's talk about it in terms of compassion, in terms of protecting the life, and also understanding how we have to enhance adoption services. How we have
abortion on demand is the stupidest talking point. All procedures are on demand. Yeah, well, that's the thing about like abortion being treated like as a separate thing medically. Like all procedures are on demand in the sense that there isn't a government censure process in order to get one. If you're against abortion on demand, then what you're saying is the government needs to screen your thing. Like the government needs to decide whether it's okay for you to do it or not. Oh my God, excuse me. They have their extreme position equals doctors shouldn't be afraid to save mothers' lives when their late terms have life-threatening complications. Yeah, you shouldn't be in a situation where you're telling a woman whose baby is definitely dead that like she has to go back out, or that her baby is definitely going to die, that she has to go back out to the parking lot until she's about ready to code, and then she can come in and you can treat her when she's septic and about to die. There's a TikTok that goes over the penny in a pan story. Basically, she exaggerated her story so much it's more lies than truth in order to bolster a narrative. Should require doctor approval at max. It's not business of the state. I mean, yeah, it's not about it being an approval process, you know? It's about, like, a doctor being like, here, I'm going to medically do this thing for you. And, like, I guess the approval is the same way that you have to make sure that nothing else is going to complicate the procedure, you know? Let's make sure you didn't take some crazy drug today or something like that. I agree. Restricting hormones behind doctors is absurd. Like, again, it's like, yeah, we have to have someone tell you what... But like, the birth control. I also think that you should just be able to get birth control without having to ask a doctor about it, except in the case of, like, it may be that you need blood work done. Maybe it's like, you should consult with your doctor before starting birth control, but you shouldn't need their, like, permission to get a prescription, you know? Makes me think about House of the Dragon. In what way? I just rewatched that entire show yesterday. Just put it on in the background while I was doing other shit. Man, I'm gonna do so much crochet this afternoon. I'm probably gonna do dishes and then crochet this afternoon. Man. Okay, we gotta get through this.
We have to enhance maternal care. Those things we've done in Arkansas and are important for our nation's future.
There are a lot of issues that are very important. Senator, I'll let you weigh in.
We cannot let states like California, New York, and Illinois have abortions on demand up until the day of birth. That is immoral. It is.
Oh yeah, the first episode, all we can save her or the baby. Yeah, exactly. Like, you can only do one or the other, I guess. I think seeing a doctor is a good option, but it shouldn't be a legal requirement. And in so many places, it requires like 6 months of therapy or seeing a doctor just to get blockers as an adult. I mean, I don't think that that's a legal requirement in the U.S. In the U.S., honestly, like, compared to abortion, there isn't a lot of regulation on legally when you can get care. But it is, like, the insurance and the medical standards, like, you know, determining, yeah, like, are you going to be able to get this procedure? And, like, the individual surgeons also set the requirements. Like, individual doctors will sometimes say, I'm not comfortable issuing you this until you've had this therapy. Like, it can depend on your endo. I'm, like, 90% sure that informed consent in Canada takes 6 months because that's how long it took me, but maybe my doctors were lying. So I guess, yeah, in the United States, I should clarify, since we're having the conversation about the U.S. right now. Insurance companies are the gatekeepers of 95% of medical care in this country. It's fucked up. Yeah, your insurance could be like, you must be on the hormones for this long in order to get surgery, or you must, you know, you have to see 3 psychological professionals before we'll get you before we'll approve you in order to determine that it's medically necessary or what have you, you know, because that's the unfortunate thing is within the system, you have to prove that something is medically necessary in order to get coverage for it. Like, you might not get coverage for a vasectomy because it's not medically necessary, and then you have to pay out of pocket for it, you know?
Ethical, it is wrong. We must have a president of the United States who will advocate and fight for, at the minimum, a 15-week limit. I'm 100% pro-life conservative. I have a 100% pro-life record. I got to tell you, though, we must fight for life. Our Declaration of Independence says our Creator gave us inalienable rights that include life. That is a list. That is an issue we must solve. We can't leave it to Illinois. We can't leave it to Minnesota. We can't leave it to Illinois. We must solve that issue with a 15-week limit at a minimum.
Brett, I think we're all pro-life, but what I would love is...
Yeah, also medically necessary leads to things like dental and vision being considered luxuries, even though you do kind of like need to not have a tooth infection. He hates Illinois so much he said it twice.
For someone to ask Biden and Kamala Harris, are they for 38 weeks? Are they for 39 weeks? Are they for 40 weeks? Because that's what the media needs to be asking.
All right, another issue is America and the crime crisis, the homelessness crisis. American cities are in decline. People are moving out as homelessness, drugs, crime move in. There are problems accelerated. They did accelerate during the pandemic and are still rising, actually.
Murders in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, all up 30% between 2019 and 2022. Homelessness is up 11%, the largest jump in recorded history. Vice President Pence, a lot of this began in the COVID era. How much of what we're seeing happening around this country is a result of those COVID lockdowns? And is your administration...
Yeah, how much of it is a result of the COVID lockdowns and not like the disabling virus? Like, I wonder if people are unemployed and therefore homeless more because they can't work. I don't know. What I don't know. Can't imagine that. What would that be like? Loving how vision is not considered medically necessary. Yeah.
in part to blame for how we got here.
Well, I think what's in part to blame is the Democrats have been talking about defunding the police for the last 5 years. And we ought to be funding law enforcement, particularly in our major cities.
We were trying to talk about what's causing homelessness, not like how do we punish people for being homeless. What a fucked up direction to take that thought process. Like, oh, Biden and the economy and COVID caused all this homelessness was the proposed question. And then his like, yeah, well, the problem is that we defunded the police, but nobody's actually defunded their police. In fact, wasn't there like COVID extra, like unspent COVID funds that got redirected into police spending? Like all over the country, actually? Isn't that what Biden explicitly said to do with it? They love to bring up defund the police, but can't point to a single jurisdiction where that happened.
At unprecedented levels. I mean, it's extraordinary to think about the violence that's claiming innocent lives literally every week in every major city in this country. And yet Democrats and liberal prosecutors in major metropolitan areas continue to work out their fanciful agendas, to do bail reform and go easy. What we need is strong commitment to law enforcement. We need leadership in Washington, D.C. that'll marshal the resources of the states, marshal the resources of the American people. But let me also say it's about opportunity. I mean, a lot of people don't know that those Trump-Pence tax cuts that we got signed into law go away at the end of 2025 if we don't have a Republican president and a Republican House and a Republican Senate. When I'm president of the United States, we're actually going to cut taxes further. We're going to extend those tax cuts, and we're going to close the federal Department of Education, block grant all that funding back to the states.
That's
with
terrifying.
A growing economy.
Oh, yeah, the huge amount of funding that goes into the Department of Education. Yeah, if we completely cut the Department of Education, I bet that's going to be like completely allow us to liquidate all of our debt or something. You know, I bet it's going to make a huge difference to how much money is available. Sure.
Economy and educational choice and law enforcement.
Oh my God,
we will bring our cities
choice.
back.
Governor Christie, another issue. This weekend here in Milwaukee, reports say there were 30 shootings, and a number of them including kids. Add that to the big increase in school shootings around the country. Democrats blame this crisis on easy access to guns. They also blame Republicans for blocking gun control legislation. What would President Christie do?
You know, I'm proud of the fact, Brett, that I'm the only person along with Governor Hutchinson up on this stage who's actually running a United States Attorney's Office. I ran the 5th largest office in America in a state where there is significant urban crime. And the problem is not going to be solved by more money. The problem is that these prosecutors in these localities in the states are refusing to do their job and to arrest violent criminals. So what a President Christie would do is appoint an attorney general.
How does the prosecutors have anything to do with arresting criminals? That's so stupid, Christie. Come on, man.
Who would instruct each of the 93 U.S. attorneys that they are to take over the prosecution of violent crime in every one of those cities that are failing to do so. We have plenty of room in the federal prisons to lock up these violent criminals and clean up what's going on all across this country in these individual cities. Secondly, what we need to make sure that each and every one of these criminals understand is that the laws apply to everybody. And when Hunter Biden fills out a fake application...
He said President Christie.
a false application for a gun permit, and then is facing a 10-year mandatory minimum, which was mandated by legislation sponsored by his father. And then you have a Justice Department that walks away from those charges. We're telling people that the law doesn't apply to everybody. In a Christie administration, he would go to jail for 10 years.
What about a President Ramaswamy? What does a President Ramaswamy do about guns?
So the reality is we have a crime wave in this country, and we know how to fix it. The question is, do we actually have the spine to do it? More cops
Oh
in
my
the
God,
streets
you're
who are on
terrifying.
the streets able to do their jobs without looking over their shoulder for getting sued.
They already have qualified immunity. What are you talking about? Oh my God, I'm going to lose it.
And we also have a mental health epidemic in this country. Just over the same period that we have closed mental health institutions, we have seen a spike in violent crime. Do we have the spine to bring them back? I think we should. As president, I will. But it's not just drug.
Yeah, so he's said mental health institutions, state-run institutions. This is the point at which he's going like, yeah, fully, we need to start involuntarily institutionalizing people again. Like, the fact that we stopped doing that has led to the rise in gun violence, question mark?
Plugging up people in those psychiatric institutions.
President Ramaswamy would probably just Hunger Games the poor. True. Under President Ram, he's going to be the first Hunger Games. The first Hunger Games in the new country Pan Am is going to happen under Ramaswamy.
With Zoloft and Seroquel. It's a deeper issue. I think faith-based approaches can play a role here too. We're in the middle of a national identity crisis. And I say this as a member of my generation. The problem in our country right now, the reason we have that mental health epidemic, is that people are so hungry for purpose and meaning at a time when family, faith, patriotism, hard work have all disappeared. What we really need is a tonal reset from the top, saying that this is what it means to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And yes, we will back law enforcement because we remember who we really are. And that's also
he's a big fascist.
How we address that mental health epidemic in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime.
Can I speak on Governor DeSantis really quickly? Governor DeSantis.
We don't have an identity crisis. We're not looking for a new national identity. The American people are the most faith-filled, freedom-loving, idealistic, hardworking people the world has ever known. We just need government as good as our people.
Well, Mike, I think the difference is you might have, some others like you may have on the stage, it's Morning in America speech. It is not Morning in America. We live in a dark moment, and we have to confront the fact that we're in an internal, sort of cold cultural civil war.
You are
and we have to
equating the
recognize
American
that
people with the
in order to actually
failed
win.
government in Washington, D.C. We just need government as good as our people again.
So let me just finish addressing that slogan because I don't know what that slogan means. We need to shut down the administrative state. That's actually how we translate it.
Crime has been on the rise in Florida, Governor DeSantis. How do
Me
you
when I lie on national TV.
stop crime?
Well, actually, crime's at a 50-year low
Not
in
in-
Florida.
not in Miami.
We're happy with that. Well, the statewide, it's a 50-year low. And so here's the thing. These hollowed out cities, this is a symptom of America's decline. And one of the biggest reasons is because you have George Soros funding these radical left-wing district attorneys.
Jews.
They get into office and they say they're not going to prosecute crimes they disagree with. The inmates start running the asylum. There's one guy in this entire country that's ever done anything about that. Me. When we had two of these district attorneys in Florida elected with Soros funding who said they wouldn't do their job, I removed them from their posts. They are gone. And as president, we are going to go after all of these people because they are hurting the quality of life and they are victimizing innocent people in every corner of this country, and it will stop when I get into office.
Okay, one more here before the break, Governor Bergen.
Well, Brett and Martha, I just thought it was interesting. You asked your question about the problems we're having in big cities. Nobody ever asked the question of what about the crime wave in small towns? Because in a small town, neighbors help neighbors. People understand each other. If a farmer gets sick, everybody comes together and helps them get the crop off. There's accountability.
That's
There's
probably
transparency.
not true. I don't think that's true.
See, one thing that I think this country could use is somebody in the White House that understands small town values, because that's our road back to get this country on track again.
Camera doing its thing again? Come on. Why you do this? Why you do this to me? Okay. Will you come back? Will you come back now? Fun fact, Vivek went to college thanks to Soros funding. Is that true? Is that Truth Social?
Governor Hutchinson?
As former head of the DEA, I understand the drug crisis in America. And right now, whenever you look at the
$10 to the camera fund. I don't think I'm gonna replace the camera for a long time, but I appreciate it. I'll save it. I'll tuck that $10 away for the inevitable purchasing a camera in a couple years. That's gonna happen probably. Frankly, I think that maybe I should consider getting a new phone at some point because the camera is so shit on my phone, and I want to continue taking, like pictures on Fansly, and like I want them to be decent quality photos, and my camera on my phone kind of sucks ass. He won a Soros scholarship? Oh, that's fucking hilarious. Most farms are corporate. It's called crop insurance. Yeah, so... But he's like, oh, in a small town, people will help. Like, there are no small town farmers like that, though. There are only industrial farmers because industrial farming has boxed out small farmers.
Challenges in our inner city. There's 3 simple words that would be helpful. 1, enforce the law when it comes to crime. Secondly, let's...
I have a Samsung Galaxy S9. It just does a lot of, like, light particulates. Like, it's just... I don't know, maybe I just need to do a really thorough cleaning of the lens.
Deal with the challenge of fentanyl. And it's both about stopping the fentanyl coming from Mexico, but it's also about education of our young people.
Fentanyl.
Making sure that we have the tools that are needed for addiction
we gotta
counseling.
outlaw crime.
That's what we expanded in Arkansas as well. Whenever you look at the underlying challenge of America, though, no one likes to see an America with smash and grab in our inner cities. As President of the United States, that will stop. It starts at the top with the respect for our justice system that a former president who's under indictment has undermined.
Oh, dude, your eye is so red right now.
By attacking judges, by attacking prosecutors, by attacking the system and saying he's aggrieved. And so we have to have respect for our justice system and the rule of law, and it starts at the top with the President of the United States.
Brett, thank you. Hold on.
Take a break. So, speaking of that, right now you are looking live at Fulton County Jail, where former President Donald Trump will be processed tomorrow. So next, the candidates will have an opportunity to talk about the coming trials of Donald Trump.
Oh, good.
China, Ukraine, immigration, education. But we are going to take a brief moment and talk about the elephant not in the room.
Former President Trump has been indicted in 4 different states on 91 counts. He will be processed tomorrow in Georgia at the Fulton County Jail for charges relating to the 2020 election loss.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your
This part
party?
is the scariest part? Oh, okay. I was actually thinking about skipping this part, so...
Choice. Please raise your hand if you would.
Wait. I forget. I didn't
hear it. In a court
hear
of law, would you still support him as your party's choice?
Oh,
Please
no.
raise your hand if you would.
He just asked, like, if he gets convicted, would you still support him as the nominee? And half of the... Oh, my God. Oh, it took them a second. The only guy who said no was Hutchinson.
Hold on. So just to be clear...
Look how DeSantis looked around before lifting his hand. These 4 were like, I'm gonna say yes, and then gradually we had these 3. Dude, girl, why?
Governor Christie, you were kind of late to the game there, but you raised your hand?
No, I'm doing this. Look, I'm doing this.
And
not
I know
this.
you didn't.
Whoa. No.
What's the
Look, here's the bottom
Boo.
line.
The one lone boo.
To stop normalizing this conduct. Okay? Now whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong, the conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States. And you know...
You should hit like, because this is suffering.
This is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change the truth.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
Chris Christie is very unpopular in
I'd
this
like
room.
to get in and respond. Let's just speak the truth, okay? President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century.
Oh, wow.
And Chris Christie...
But wait.
Honestly,
We started with Bush, right? It was Bush, and then Obama, and then Trump. So, like, of those 3, this dude is claiming that Trump was the best. The best around.
God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against one man. And if people
Also Clinton for 1 year. Okay, fair.
at home want to see a bunch of people blindly bashing Donald Trump without an iota of vision for this country, they could just change the channel to MSNBC right now. But I'm not running for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong. We have to end the weaponization of justice in this country.
30 seconds, Governor DeSantis.
Let me tell you
I'm sorry. 30 seconds, Governor
You
Christie.
make me laugh because you sit here in an answer. You sit here in an answer right. Hold on one second. You sit here in an answer.
Go ahead, Governor Christie.
Hold on, Governor Christie.
Hold on.
Well,
So listen, the more time we spend doing this, the less time they can talk about issues you want to talk about. So let's just get through this section. Governor Christie.
Fair enough. You have to tell the crowd to shut the fuck up so that they can have their 30 seconds.
Sit here talking about how you want to stand up for the rule of law.
Yes.
And law and order. And the fact is that it can't be selective. In your book, you had much different things to say about Donald Trump than you're saying here tonight.
That's not true.
Well, it is very true.
That is not true.
It's very true. I read it, and I know.
Difference between bad behavior and illegal behavior, Chris. And you, as a prosecutor, should know better.
Yeah, you know what? I know a lot better.
There's a difference between bad behavior.
And I know a lot better than you do. You've never done it like you've never done anything to try to advance the interests of this government except to put yourself forward as a candidate tonight. And here's the thing. We've stood up for law and order. I did it as U.S. attorney. I did it as governor. And I am not going to bow to anyone when we have a president of the United States who disrespects the Constitution. He said, Martha, it's important to say that the president said, Donald Trump said, it's okay to suspend the Constitution. Now, the oath you take is to preserve, protect, and defend, not suspend. I will always stand up for our Constitution, regardless of the political pressure.
Yeah, the thing is, you kind of have to be careful not to shit talk Trump too much because you will alienate a good chunk of the base. I mean, Christie, he's correct, and I like him on this issue. But yeah, I mean, no, it's clearly very unpopular to shit talk Trump at the Fox News organization.
We have another question for you. We're going to get everyone in on this issue, but I have another question. Hold on, you will. All right, so President Trump's former vice president is on this stage tonight. He has faced...
I kind of respect Christie for saying this, knowing he's going to get booed. Yeah, no, I'm officially Christie's only fan.
Hecklers on the campaign trail over his actions on January the 6th. On that day, the vice president moved forward with the certification of the election. So do you believe that Mike Pence did the right thing, Senator Scott? Do you believe he did the right thing?
Absolutely. He did the right thing. Number one. Number two.
In reaffirming the election.
We should be asking ourselves a bigger question about the weaponization of the Department of Justice. When I'm president, the first thing I'll do is fire Merrick Garland. Second thing I'll do, fire Christopher Wray, because we need Lady Justice to wear a blindfold. Without that, no one has confidence in our justice system. 17% of Republicans have confidence in our Department of Justice. Here's why. We keep seeing not only the weaponization of the Department of Justice against political opponents, but also against parents who show up at school board meetings. They're called, under this DOJ, they're called domestic terrorists.
Firing Christopher Wray, but that's not shut down the FBI. Actually have the courage to get it right.
Let me finish my comments.
Yes.
Not only that, in addition to that, we see the SWAT team show up at pro-life activist homes with guns drawn because this DOJ uses their power, uses their authority, not just against political opponents, but against conservatives and conservative causes.
It's definitely not like a long-running, well-known tradition that abortion clinics are subject to lots of bomb threats. Yeah, exactly. These people are threatening, like they plant shitty little bombs. They send in packets of powder that like are clearly meant to be interpreted to be something dangerous, even if they aren't actually dangerous. Did I say Chris Christie OnlyFans? Delicious.
It is time for a change in America, and I will bring that change to the greatest nation on God's green earth.
We have an important
But Governor
question
DeSantis, do you believe that Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th?
So here's what we need to do. We need to end the weaponization of these federal agencies.
Right, but
I will do that.
That's not the question.
I know, but here's the thing. This election is not about January 6th of 2021. It's about January 20th of 2025, when the next president is going to take office. I know what the Democrats would like to do. They want to talk about all these other issues, but we've got to focus on your future. We've got to focus on reversing the decline of our country. I learned in the military, I was assigned with U.S. Navy SEALs in Iraq, that you focus on the mission above all else. You can't get distracted. So Republicans, we've got to look
is Ron
forward.
DeSantis a veteran? I didn't know that.
And we've got to make sure that we're bringing the message that can win in November 2024.
Vice President Pence,
you did not answer the question. To support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I think the American people deserve to know whether everyone on
he served at Gitmo where he personally abused prisoners. Nice. Delicious.
The stage agrees that I kept my oath to the Constitution that day. There's no more important duty. So answer the question.
Much like Buttigieg, he served he served specifically to advance his political career. Of course.
answered this before.
So, yes.
Why are we? Mike did his duty. I got no beef with him. But here's the thing: is this what we're going to be focusing on going forward? The rehashing of this? I'll tell you,
Governor
the
DeSantis,
Democrats would love that, and they will win if we let him get away with it. I'm not letting Biden hang out in the basement this time. We're going to run him ragged around this country, and we're going to hold him accountable.
Let me just say, Governor DeSantis, we spent an hour talking about policy. Former President Trump is beating you by 30, 40 points in many polls. So it is a factor in the GOP primary. Governor Hutchinson, you did not raise your hand.
I did not raise my hand because there's an important issue we as a party have to face. And over a year ago, I said that Donald Trump was morally disqualified from being president again as a result of what happened on January 6th. More people are understanding the importance of that, including conservative legal scholars who says he may be disqualified under the 14th Amendment from being president again as a result of the insurrection. This is something that could disqualify him under our rules and under the Constitution. And so, obviously, I'm not going to support somebody who's been convicted of a serious felony or who is disqualified under our Constitution, and that's consistent with RNC rules, and I hope everybody would agree with me.
We're going to go to a lot more
We're going to move on. No, we're going to...
Martha, can I answer the question?
Can I get in on
Okay, I'd like to answer.
I've already been on it, Vice President Pence.
All right, I'd like to answer the question you asked and not give a pre-canned speech. Mike Pence stood for the Constitution, and he deserves not grudging credit. He deserves our thanks as Americans for putting his oath of office and the Constitution of the United States before personal, political, and unfair pressure. And the argument that we need to have in this party before we can move on to the issues that Ron talked about is we have to dispense with the person who said that we need to suspend the Constitution to put forward his political career. Mike Pence said no, and he deserves credit for it.
Okay.
Again, Chris Christie is easily one of the most based people on here. Like, Behind the Bastards episode on DeSantis cites an account from a Gitmo detainee who was being force-fed Ensure until he was nearly drowning and noticed DeSantis laughing at him from the observation area. He is a demon. Why are all of them based but only on one point? Like, they each have one thing that they're kind of okay on.
Governor Haley?
Mike looks confused to be getting the praise, I guess.
I haven't heard from you on this. Do you agree? Do you agree that Vice President Pence did the right thing that day or not?
I do think that Vice President Pence did the right thing, and I do think that we need to give him credit for that. But what I will also tell you is, look, I mean, when it comes to whether President Trump should serve or not, I trust the American people. Let them vote. Let them decide. But what they will tell you is that it is time for a new generational conservative leader. We have to look at the fact that 3/4 of Americans don't want a rematch between Trump and Biden. And we have to face the fact that Trump is the most disliked politician in America. We can't win a general election that way.
More cheers than I was expecting on that point.
Governor Bergen?
Based is relative. Every one of these people are objectively horrible. True.
Happy to answer the question. Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. But I would say you started off the top of this hour saying we're going to talk about China, Ukraine, education. We are. China is the #1 threat to our country. And every minute that these 8 candidates spend talking about the past instead about the future is time that is just you know who loves it? Biden loves it, but China loves it when we're talking about the past.
Okay. As promised, we were going to spend a few questions on it, let people say what they wanted to say. And now, indeed, we are moving on to the subject.
The U.S. has committed nearly 70.
Can I speak on this issue? I was
you
kind of
did
involved.
you answered on this.
You did
say
answer. Something.
Yeah.
We thought you were done, but you
No, I
please.
wasn't done.
Well, Mike, why don't you say this? Join me in making a commitment that on day one you would pardon Donald Trump. I'm the only candidate on the stage who had the courage to actually say it. That is how we move our nation forward.
I don't know why you
hate this guy so much.
Trump will be convicted of these crimes.
You should be able to make a commitment. The same justice system that was this corrupt.
What's the difference between you and me?
Yeah, I'm not a professional politician. That's the difference. You can answer a question.
I've actually given pardons when I was governor of the state of Indiana. It usually follows a finding of guilt and contrition by the individual that's been convicted. So, look, if I'm president of the United States, we'll give fair consideration to any pardon request. But if I may, you know, it's not about looking back
Vivek is really
at
a troll.
January
He's really
2021.
trolling up on here.
It's about January 20th, 2017. I put my left hand on Ronald Reagan's Bible. I raised my right hand. And I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And it ended with a prayer, so help me God. It was a promise that I made to the American people, but I also made it to my Heavenly Father. Every day for 4 years, I sought to keep that oath. And everyone on this stage needs to make it clear whether or not they'll do the same if they earn this job and the confidence of the American people. Now, look, I've made it clear. I had hoped that
good news, can't federally pardon someone for state crimes. Oh, that's a good point. So yeah, whoever's governor in Georgia would have to do that, wouldn't they? Ooh.
Issues surrounding
the 2020 election and the controversies around January 6th had not come to this, had not come to criminal proceedings. I would rather they had been resolved by the American people and the American people alone. But no one's above the law, and President Trump is entitled to the presumption of innocence that every American is entitled to, and we will make sure and extend that to
In Georgia, the governor doesn't even have that
deserve
power.
to know that the president asked me.
Trump's Georgia crimes can't even be pardoned by the governor. It would require a board to be assembled. Is that just how the process works in Georgia, or is it because of a special case about like the particular laws that he broke, or? The sad thing is I would take anyone on this stage over the front run who isn't even there. I don't want Vivek. Vivek, I hate him. I don't like him. I hate him a lot. I think he's the worst. I think he would be worse than Trump in some ways. I don't like him. Okay, they did take the power away from the governor and implemented a separate system. Also, Rico can't be pardoned in the same way. I wouldn't want DeSantis or Vivek. Yeah. He wants to do... Wait. Yeah, Pence wants to do conversion camps. Let's not.
Me, in his request that I reject or return votes unilaterally, power that no vice president in American history had ever exercised or taken, he asked me to put him over the Constitution. And I chose the Constitution, and I always will. I had no right to overturn the election, and Kamala Harris will have no right to overturn the election when we beat them in 2024.
Thank you, Vice President Pence. Now we are moving on to other issues. The U.S. has committed nearly $77 billion in aid to the Ukraine war. The administration is now asking Congress for $24 billion more. Regardless of that, the specifics of that plan, is there anyone on stage who would not support the increase of more funding to Ukraine?
We would not support it. Europe needs to step up. I mean, I would have Europe step up and do their job.
Mr. Ramaswamy, but you're saying you would not too, Governor DeSantis?
I will have Europe pull their weight. Right now, they're not doing that.
Would not support
and I think we need to do. And I think our support should be contingent on them doing it. And I would have support in China to be able to take China and do what we need to do with China.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine?
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous, that we are protecting against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States. We are driving Russia further into China's hands. The Russia-China alliance is the single greatest threat we face. And I find it offensive that we have professional politicians on the stage that will make a pilgrimage to Kyiv, to their Pope, Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui or the south side of Chicago or Kensington. I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first, secure our own border instead of somebody else's. And the reality is, this is also how we project strength by making America strong at home.
He's terrifying. He's such fash. I guess I'd rather be electrocuted than set on fire. But can you be specific about the kind of poison? Because that would, that could be better. Yeah, like I don't want to die from poison. I don't think, because it's just not going to be a good. But I need to know what the poison is, right? Growing up Mormon, I barely avoided ending up in the conversion camp. Yeah, I am assuming that conversion camps are basically like torture camps. Is this the part where they try to one-up each other about how hard they'll murder immigrants? Yeah. Can we talk about the, Ron DeSantis being like... Wasn't it Ron DeSantis who was like, let's put saw blades in the rivers?
You heard the names. Governor Christie first.
All right, look, I did go to Ukraine, and I went to Ukraine because I wanted to see for myself what Vladimir Putin's army was doing to the free Ukrainian people. And let me tell you, I want you all to look around this arena tonight and imagine that every one of these seats was filled. And if every one of them was filled, there would still be 2,500 more children outside to make over 20,000 who have been abducted, stolen, ripped from their mothers and fathers, and brought back to Russia to be programmed to fight their own families. They have gouged out people's eyes, cut off their ears, and shot people in the back of the head, men, and then gone into those homes and raped the daughters and the wives who were left as widows and orphans. This is the Vladimir Putin. This is the Vladimir Putin who Donald Trump called brilliant and a genius. If we don't stand up against this type of autocratic killing in the world, we will be next.
We will be next. Yeah, I mean, fair enough, Christy. The only war I want to wage is on the climate agenda. Also, China and Russia are our enemies, so we got to use deadly force against Mexico. Yeah, true. They want your WOMs. They want your WOMs.
Hang on. Hit the brakes.
I have a question for Governor Haley. We'll come back.
Vice President Pence was mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, let me be clear. Anybody that thinks that we can't solve the problems here in the United States and be the leader of the free world has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth.
That is incorrect.
We can do both, Vivek. We've done both. We've been the leader of the free world and the arsenal of democracy for years. The Reagan Doctrine years ago made it clear. We said, if you're willing to fight the communists on your soil, we'll give you the means to fight them there so our troops don't have to fight them. Vivek, if we do the giveaway that you want to give to Putin to give him his land, it's not going to be too long before he rolls across a NATO border, and frankly, our men and women of our armed forces are going to have to go and fight him. I want to let the Ukrainians fight and drive Putin and the Russians back out into Russia.
I want to just
so our
briefly
troops
address
aren't going to have to make that
Vice
fight.
President Pence. I have a newsflash. The USSR does not exist anymore. It fell back in 1990.
Did I say
the real
USSR?
threat. You talked about the communists, and the real communists that we have to address
Do you
right
not
now
have any
is the
idea what Vladimir Putin's aims
you
are?
already spoke. Now I actually have something to say.
Vladimir Putin has been saying he wants to reestablish the old Soviet sphere of influence.
It was Governor Abbott who literally did put saw blades in the rivers, also razor wire blocking the fords, and then he told Border Patrol not to provide any kind of aid, not even water. So people, including kids, have died tangled in razor wire and drowning in deeper parts of the river trying to go around and dying of exhaustion and exposure. Yeah, it's pretty horrendous. DeSantis did indeed mention saw blades on the water. He's like, yeah, what Governor Abbott's doing is a great idea.
Vice President.
I'm sorry if I insulted him by calling him a communist. He is a dictator and a murderer, and the United States of America needs to stand against authoritarianism.
Mr. Ramaswamy, 30 seconds.
Respond. The real threat we face today is communist China, and we are driving Russia further into China's arms. The Russia-China military alliance is the single greatest threat we face. Nobody in either political party is talking about it, and I am the only non-neocon on this stage. Keep us out of war.
Mr. Vice President, we can't hear. Mr. Vice President,
to give Russia everything they've got.
Mr. Vice President.
Give them a promise that Ukraine will never be in NATO, and then somehow China will not think about taking Taiwan. We achieve peace through strength.
Mr. Vice
and America
President.
needs to stand for freedom.
Okay, here we go.
I think we need to establish some ground rules
When
here,
we
folks.
hear this bell,
Yes.
that means your time's done.
We're done.
So, Mr. Vice President, we appreciate your aggressiveness here. 30 seconds is 30 seconds. Mr. Ramaswamy, you were mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
So the reality is that today, Ukraine
He did get a
is
chance
not
to
a
talk
priority
already.
for the United
People are
States
upset by
of
that.
America. And I think that the same people who took us into the Iraq War, the same people who took us into the Vietnam War, you cannot start another no-win war. And I do not want to get to the point where we're sending our military resources abroad when we could be better using them here at home to protect our own borders, protect the homeland.
All right.
That will be my top priority for
Protect the homeland. Dude, this guy is such a fash.
So I do want to get to some other people because everybody, we respect everybody's time here. So, Governor Haley, you did not raise your hand, meaning that you would support more funding for the Ukraine war. You have said of Governor DeSantis that you didn't appreciate it when he initially called it a territorial dispute. Why?
First of all, the American president needs to have moral clarity. They need to know the difference between right and wrong. They need to know the difference between good and evil. Right. When you look at the situation with Russia and Ukraine, here you have a pro-American country that was invaded by a thug. So when you want to talk about what has been given to Ukraine, less than 3.5% of our defense budget has been given to Ukraine. If you look at the percentages per GDP, 11 of the European countries have given more than the U.S. But what's really important is go back to when China and Russia held hands, shook hands before the Olympics, and named themselves unlimited partners. A win for Russia is a win for China. We have to know that. Ukraine is the first line of defense for us. And the problem that Vivek doesn't understand is he wants to hand Ukraine to Russia. He wants to let China eat Taiwan. He wants to go and stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends. What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine is a front line of defense. Putin has said once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a pro-American country.
First of all, Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 30 seconds. Mr. DeSantis,
Nikki, I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
I'm not on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon. And you
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week, Nikki.
You want to go and defund Israel? You want to
okay, let me address that. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to address each of those right now. This is the false lies of
Yeah, he's really unpopular on this panel. He keeps attacking everybody else on the panel, and she's like, everybody's like really getting mad at him. He's not going to have a political future at all after he drops out of this. Like, he is absolutely, I think he just wanted to get his name out there so that he could do something with his business. Like, he's literally a big pharma billionaire. He's a grifter. My thoughts on Vivek cannot be stated on any website's TOS. He's boosting his book sales. Oh, yeah. Trying to get a Fox News deal. Maybe he thinks he's going to replace Tucker. I don't know. Or be the next Matt Walsh. I think he's also aiming for the potential VP spot. But he can't. You can't aim for the VP spot and, like, neg literally all of the other candidates. You can't. Or do you think he's criticizing all these other people and he's going to say, oh, Trump's the best, though? Oh, yeah, well, I guess he did say I would pardon Trump, so he is trying to suck his dick a little bit. You know this motherfucker has a poster of Ben Shapiro in his room. He tried to get into the Daily Wire? No. Yeah. He wants Trump to be his daddy. Look at Meghan Markle, etc. I've seen racism among the rich and privileged. You can literally be a rich royal, and some aristocrat will make a racial slur right to your face in a formal setting in public. If you're brown or queer, you will still catch hell, even though it will not be anywhere near as bad as what will happen if you're poor, etc. Yeah, I wonder. Vivek had no political presence a year ago. He's making a splash right now. He had a deal to be a Daily Wire guy that fell through. He doesn't necessarily want office, but he does want more power in politics and will likely get it. He wants to be, he's going to try to be a political outsider. I don't know. He might be able to, I guess, suck Trump's dick to some degree, because they are both like, oh, we're business boys. We're the business boys. That's how they're going to market themselves.
Professional politician. There you have it.
Your watch,
so the
you will make
reality
America less
A
if you have no
disruptor
foreign
TM.
policy experience, and it shows.
And you know what? The foreign policy experience that you all have shows in the pointless wars we got.
She said you have no experience in politics, and it shows.
Our relationship with Israel will never be stronger than by the end of my first term. But it's not a client relationship. It is a friendship. And you know what friends do? Friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them? I love their border policies. I love their tough on crime policies. I love that they have a national identity and an iron dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes, I want to learn from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles me is, I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland, Nikki.
Israel
that is
needs
the answer.
America. America needs Israel.
Okay,
They
Governor
are the
DeSantis, you were mentioned in the territorial dispute. Not only...
No, it's not a territorial
as
dispute
President
either.
of the United States, your first obligation is to defend our country and its people. And that means you're sending all this money, but you're not doing what we need to do to secure our own border. We have tens of thousands of people who are being killed because, well, we're not handling both. And so I am going to declare it a national emergency. I'm not going to send troops to Ukraine, but I am going to send them to our southern border. When these drug pushers are bringing fentanyl across the border, that's going to be the last thing they do. We're going to use force, and we're going to leave them stone cold dead.
We're actually going to move on to China. We're going to talk about China.
Okay.
Governor Burgum.
Have I discussed previously how I think that the fentanyl crisis is like basically the new crack cocaine? Like, it's the police pushing it. Like, when you get something that's laced with fentanyl, I think that it's because police are tampering with it. He is so uncanny valley with his facial expressions. I know, he is a robot.
China has the biggest navy in the world, the biggest army in the world. Now they have warships off the coast of Alaska. They are threatening Taiwan. In coming years, China will have 1,500 nuclear warheads, it's believed. The U.S. just arrested 2 sailors accused of spying for China within our military. So the question is, how would you deter China as a president, Burgum?
Well, this is the number one issue we're facing. And of course, we haven't been talking about it, and we act like that letting Russia win in the Ukraine is like a gimme as opposed to a gift to China. Russia has become China's gas station. But how would we do it? The Biden administration is a complete fail. China imports 10 million barrels of oil a day, more than any other country in the world. They do not even have all the food they need to feed everybody in that country. So they don't have energy security or food security. But the Biden administration sends Blinken, Yellen over there. They're over there. They don't even bring up energy because...
I'm pretty sure my cousin died from fentanyl. It was like a decade ago, and the police were like, we can't tell you the cause of death because we are actively investigating. And it sounded like her dealer had cut her heroin with something. Yeah, I know someone who died from a drug overdose, and I suspected that it might be because of something like that. I'm not sure, though, because I don't think we ever really got a lot of details about it. Most fentanyl on the market is prescribed here. Almost none comes over the border, especially not with migrants walking into Texas. Yeah, many police and politicians are themselves doing the trafficking and the selling of drugs. They don't hesitate to take money from cartels and look the other way, help them out, etc. When they confiscate drugs, like, what do they do with them? Like, what do you think they do with them? I'm sure that if it's cocaine, they just do it themselves. But Yeah, like, what do you think they're doing? Probably, like, selling it back into the community so that they can then arrest people more, and, like, then you get more funding to the police department because look at how good you're doing on crime. Like, I wouldn't put it past anybody, really.
They're too busy trying to kill the U.S. energy here. And what we need to do is not meetings, not press releases, because something that would send a lot more than a press release is actually Harpoon missiles. We need anti-ship missiles on Taiwan. The way that you have a war never start, which is the goal.
Wait, is there a video of a cop taking fentanyl as she's making arrests? There was a big Republican person that actually got busted importing fent through the mail. Yeah, through the mail, more likely.
Through strength is that you actually have strength. You actually have deterrence. And what we have in what we got going on in Ukraine is an example of when deterrence fail. What is an example there of Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, the fact that he greenlighted Putin moving into Ukraine, and then now they see weakness, and when they see weakness, they make a move. And we have to be strong, and we have to be strong both in Ukraine, and we can solve the southern border. Absolutely, we can do that, because guess what? There's only 19,855 authorized people for the Border Patrol, but they're not all staff because the Biden administration doesn't enforce law enforcement. But Biden administration wanted to put 87,000 people in the IRS as opposed to giving the money in this support we need to our own Border Patrol.
Okay. Senator Scott, on China, that same question.
Can I speak about China?
Let's fire the 87,000 IRS agents and hire or double the number of Border Patrol agents. I just left Yuma, Arizona about 2 weeks ago. The most pressing need of the American people from a national security standpoint is our southern border. It has led to the death of 70,000 Americans because of fentanyl. Plus 6 million.
So you're just like attributing literally every death related to fentanyl to the southern border crisis. Like literally every single death from fentanyl, I am going to accuse it of coming from the southern border. Reminder that San Jose Police Officers Association Executive Director Joanne Marion Segovia, between 2015 and 2023, Segovia received 61 shipments from various countries. Authorities intercepted and opened 5 such shipments and found that they contained thousands of pills, including the synthetic opioids tramadol and tapentadol. Guess what the mystery ingredient in those was? Interesting. I wonder what she was doing with it. Curious. Doug is an idiot. We need missiles on Taiwan. That'll stop the war. Did this guy sleep through the Cuban Missile Crisis? You know, the state of public education in the United States, you know, it's terrible.
Billion illegal crossings since President Biden has taken office, and 200 people on our national security watch list have been caught at our border. How many have not been caught at our southern border? If we just spend $10 billion...
How many people are on that list is my question.
We could finish the wall. For $5 billion more, we could have the military-grade technology to surveil our southern border to stop the flow of fentanyl and save 70,000 Americans a year. That should be the priority of this government. And as the next president of the United States, I will make that border wall complete.
There are many more questions on China. I do want to ask...
Bringing up the wall now. Federal investigators allege that Segovia used her personal and office computers to order thousands of opioids and other pills to her home, and used her office at the San Jose Police Officers Association to distribute controlled substances, including the union's UPS account. Oh, man. Okay, camera decided to come back. Good. I'm glad that you just decided that independently on your own. Jeez. Jiminy Christmas. Oh, my God. Gotta stretch. Ooh. Stretching off screen. No biceps for you. No biceps. Unless we get the dono goals. Sad. I know it's so sad. I wonder if we're gonna get to 100 likes today. We're still like 22 off.
Say I couldn't agree more. It's not just the 70,000 from fentanyl. We've lost 200,000 people to overdoses since Biden took office. That's 300 people a day. We're taking mass casualties, and that's a statistic, but these are sons and daughters, nieces and nephews that we're losing. We've got North Dakota troops down there flying night helicopter missions from San Diego to the Gulf.
So yeah, we're gonna attribute all overdose deaths to the border crisis.
Gulf Coast, trying to stop these transnational criminal organizations. They've got better funding on their side than we've got on our side.
Speaking of which, Governor Hutchinson, images from earlier this month, Governor Hutchinson,
with Mexico,
Vice President Pence, images from earlier this month. Vice President Pence, it really doesn't help. I'm asking a question. Earlier this month, images showed suspected cartel members crossing into Texas with rifles. Do you consider this an invasion? Would you authorize lethal force along that border?
there would be lethal force used by the Border Patrol, law enforcement as needed to protect the border. Absolutely. When you look at the military has to be used for intelligence gathering.
Yeah, always remember, y'all, in order to apply for asylum in the United States, you have to first be in the United States. So they actively want to prevent asylum seekers from coming to the country.
Purposes. This is not.
Yeah, this is the part where they one up each other on the murdering of immigrants.
Unusual. Whenever I was in the Bush administration, we went down there and met with President Vicente Fox of Mexico and asked his help in going after the cartels. And he looked at me and said, they're a problem to us as well. And so we joined together and we took down the Ariana Felix brothers leading the Tijuana cartel. And that made a difference. Ramon was shot and killed and Ben Amin was captured. Cooperation makes a difference. We cannot be successful going against the cartel unless...
Yeah, this is a question is very emblematic of where Republicans are mentally. Here's a picture of two minorities holding rifles. Is this an invasion?
We bring in Mexico as a partner. We have to use economic pressure to accomplish that. President Obrador has not been helpful, and we have to use economic pressure that this administration is not using. The rule of law has to matter on both sides of it.
Okay.
This is critical. I've done it. We know what needs to be done. The military has to be limited in its use. When after 9/11, we had the global war on terror, and guess what? We protected the border at the same time. You can do both.
Okay, let's go to Governor DeSantis.
Honestly, this is so fucked. Deadly force on people who are just trying to get by, only taking what they can carry across the desert. Fuck Republicans. True. Yeah, we got 9/11. Bingo card. Bingo!
So, as president, would you support sending U.S. Special Forces over the border into Mexico to take out fentanyl labs, to take out drug cartel operations? Would you support that kind of American military use?
Yes, and I will do it on day one. Here's the thing. The cartel...
Wait, is that something I don't think you can do that without, like, permission. I was like, I don't think you can do that without permission from Mexico. Otherwise, that's just an act of war, right? That's just you sending military into another country to do hostilities on them.
Are killing tens of thousands of our fellow citizens. You want to talk about a country in decline? You have the cartels controlling a lot of part of your southern border. We have to reestablish the rule of law, and we have to defend our people.
Yeah, the question is, can they stop us? Because we do that shit all the time.
The President of the United States has got to use all available powers as Commander-in-Chief to protect our country and to protect the people. So when they're coming across, yes, we're going to use lethal force. Yes, we reserve the right to operate. How many more tens of thousands are we going to let to die? I am sick. I've met...
Yeah, honestly, like, let's talk about how many deaths there are happening from supposedly alleged deaths that you could attribute maybe to drugs that maybe sometimes cross the border versus how many people are just, like, dying because they cannot afford their insulin. But let's not talk about that. We're not going to talk about that.
Angel moms throughout this country. I met a lady in Texas named Tracy, and her son took one Percocet that was laced with fentanyl, immediately died. That is happening all across this country because of the poison that they are bringing in. So as president, would I use force? Would I treat them as foreign terrorist organizations? You're darn right I would.
You know, Vice President Pence, why would you be better at this issue than Governor DeSantis? Governor DeSantis on the campaign trail refers to your administration as not finishing the wall.
Right. Look, we secured the southern border of the United States of America and reduced illegal immigration and asylum abuse by 90%. When Joe Biden took over, he threw open the southern border of the United States, and the wave of...
He's hoping people will forget that he just said he'd declare war on Mexico day one in office. I mean, maybe he's dumb enough to actually do it. Yeah. I looked up the video, and apparently there's debate whether she got high off the fentanyl from sniffing it or if she was having a panic attack. This is like a common narrative that cops will say, like, oh, I came in contact with a trace amount of fentanyl, like, on my hands, and that was enough to make me, like, start overdosing. It's like, no, you're just having a panic attack. You're fine. Calm down. I knew this one guy in college who smoked one marijuana and immediately died, and then I heard his roommate automatically passed all his classes that semester. Truly. Yeah, I have injected one marijuana.
Humanity, the wave of fentanyl that's been eloquently described here is a wave of human tragedy across this country. But Martha, you began this evening talking about who is best prepared to be the next president of the United States. And I have to tell you, with all humility, I was there when we negotiated through the government shutdown and got the funding available to build the wall. I was negotiating on Capitol Hill around the clock. I negotiated the Remain in Mexico policy on behalf of the President of the United States. And Asa, you're so right. It's because we used economic pressure to bring the Mexicans to the table, and they allowed us to have people wait in Mexico while they applied for asylum and ended asylum abuse overnight. We got the Mexicans to deploy their National Guard to their southern border and to our southern border as never before. And I want to promise you, as President of the United States of America, I will engage Mexico the exact same way, and we will partner with the Mexican military, and we will hunt down and destroy the cartels that are claiming lives in the United States of America.
Thank you. Another issue that is related to this is that almost 7 million migrants have crossed this border, our southern border, during the Biden administration. So, Governor Christie, what would you do about the 7 million who are here? How would you handle them? What would you do?
Look, Martha, the first thing we need to do is to stop any more from coming. That's the first thing we need to do. Then the next thing we need to do with the folks that are here is to, again, as we've talked about all night tonight, we have to have law and order in this country. We have to enforce the law. And what that means is to make sure that people who come here illegally are not rewarded for being here illegally. We have so many wonderful people from around the world who are waiting in line, following the law to try to come here and pursue the American dream.
So you're going to continually restrict the avenues by which people can legally become, like, in this country. And then, like, when people inevitably fall outside of the extremely narrow parameters that you've set, you're going to, like, deport them. Like, no, you got to go back to your country where you're worried about being hunted by the cartels that you owe money to or whatever. Like, I don't know.
And those people are waiting and waiting and waiting because we haven't dealt with the problem of the folks who are here. We have to have them detained. We have to make sure that they are not rewarded for having broken the law. And
they always act like it's some long line everyone's standing in, but the two forms of entry are entirely unrelated. True.
Thing on this fentanyl issue. With China, we can't...
Yeah, they focus so hard on the border because they don't want to actually stop illegal immigration. Most illegal immigrants overstay their visas. Republicans like having them as an easily exploitable workforce. Yeah, I mean, they're talking about the border because they want to increase the fascism and, like, they want to increase the police presence on the ground and, like, increase the likelihood that you'll be questioned and forced to show your ID randomly as you're just walking around doing your business, you know? Yeah, how much of this is trafficking for cheap labor? Yeah, like, we're going to arrest them. Yeah, is that the question? Are they going to deport them or are they going to arrest them and then put them to work? Like, that's, honestly, it's one of the questions.
Take our eye off of that ball. Right. Yes, it's important that we secure the border. Very important, as I just said. But China is sending these chemicals to these drug cartels for them to create the fentanyl that is killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens. The Chinese are engaging in an act of war against us, killing our citizens. We better make that priority one in our conversations with China and to try to straighten that relationship out, because if we don't, we're going to lose more and more of our citizens.
I just want to clarify. Would you send those people back?
Of course. You'd have to.
We have a lot of issues that Americans care about.
So they're claiming they're going to send them back instead of arresting them and jailing them and using them for slave labor.
Next up, we're going to talk about the crisis in education, as millions of American
children are not
proficient in reading or math.
Oh, so this is going to be the part where we talk about trans kids, right? Because it's going to, the sports question is going to come up.
The nation's report card was the weakest ever for American school children, exposing chronic absenteeism, deep declines for reading and math for 15-year-olds and 13-year-olds. Governor DeSantis, you would eliminate, you said, the Department of Education. But as president, would you still have a responsibility to fix this crisis as we see it?
Absolutely. The decline in education is one of the major reasons why our country is in decline. We need education in this country, not indoctrination in this country. And in Florida, we stood up for what was right. First, we had schools open during COVID, and a lot of the problems that we've seen are because these lockdown states lock their kids out of school for a year, year and a half. That was wrong. We stood up. I took a lot of fire for that. I was pilloried by the media, but I stood for our kids. And as president, I'll stand for you and your kids as well.
I think like 70% of COVID transmission is fueled by children. Like, because they keep going to schools and stuff. Like, oh, how dare you keep your kids out of school for a year? That's so bad for them. Unlike repeated brain damage.
But we have to make sure that what our schools are doing is focusing on solid academics. In Florida, we eliminated critical race theory from our K-12 schools. We eliminated gender ideology from our K-12 schools. And we have elevated the importance of American civics and teaching our kids about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
As president, I'm going to lead an effort to increase civic understanding and knowledge of our Constitution. We cannot be graduating students that don't have any foundation in what it means to be an American.
Mr. Ramaswamy, hold on, Senator Scott. You've said that the Department of Education, the FBI, the ATF, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the IRS, the Department of Commerce, many of these should not exist.
That's correct.
So to the education question, how would you deal with the crisis?
So look, we have a crisis of achievement. Let's shut down the head of the snake, the Department of Education. Take that $80 billion, put it in the hands of parents across this country. This is the civil rights issue of our time. Allow any parent to choose where they send their kids to school. End the teachers' unions at the local level to allow public schools.
Except that you're gutting public school. Wait, what? I guess I don't know what the funding to the Department of Education actually does. So is that different from distributing the actual funding to the states? Oh my god, ow. He's literally like, we stopped teaching critical thinking and started indoctrinating kids, but we hate indoctrination. True. Arizona has had their economy tanking out for over 10 years now since they changed laws to do with employing people here illegally. Listening to old white men yell at me about how he used to be able to hire 6 Mexicans to do like 20 times as much work for what he had to pay me to do alone. In my head, I was always like, Jesus, dude, that's fucked up. Yeah, no kidding. Oh yeah, allowing PragerU into Florida schools. Brilliant.
To compete, and then revive our national identity where every high school senior should have to pass the same civics test that frankly every immigrant, including my mother, had to pass in order to become a citizen of this country. And the fact of the matter is, look, there's a part of education policy that also rests with the family. I didn't grow up in money, but you know the word privilege gets used a lot? Well, you know what? I did have the ultimate privilege of 2 parents in the house with a focus on educational achievement. And I want every kid to enjoy that. So part of the problem is we also have a federal government that pays single women more not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house, contributing to an epidemic of fatherlessness. And I think that goes hand in glove with the education crisis as well, because we have to remember.
I actually don't think that's true. I think that if you're married and you have kids, you get a shit ton in taxes. Like, I don't think you actually get as much back in taxes if you're a single parent with kids. Like, because you're still filing single and you still don't have the tax benefits of being married, you know? Fatherless behavior, true. Vivek wants privately owned charter schools that can discriminate and generate profit. He also doesn't want teachers to have unions because conservatives hate when labor has power. I didn't grow up in money. Bitch, if your family immigrated to the States from India, they were better off than the average Indian because they were able to afford that. Yeah, no kidding. Like, saying I didn't grow up in money. But again, like, if you think that having money is being like a billionaire who can get a yacht, then you would be like, oh no, I'm not rich. But if you're a person who grew up like I am having to not buy cat food because I need to afford food for my kids right now, like, that's a completely different frame of reference for what it even means to be struggling, or like what it even means to have money. If you're like, your parents were able to afford to immigrate to America and then provide you with a life, and you managed to be successful and become an entrepreneur. Like, you clearly had more money than most Americans at this point. Like, more money than most Americans now. Yeah.
Education starts with the family, and the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind.
Okay, so he's also anti-gay, I'm guessing? Like, it's like, when you say nuclear family and you're talking about I had 2 parents in the home, like, I just, yeah, so many bootstraps.
Okay. So, Governor Burgum, Governor Haley has said that biological boys playing in girls' sports is the women's issue of our time. You said that even though you signed a ban on this in North Dakota, that there hadn't been one instance where it was actually needed. Are you saying that you think that too much is made of this issue?
No, I'm saying in North Dakota, we made a priority of protecting women's sports, and we've done that in our state. But I would absolutely do that. But I do think when we start talking about education and we think that we're going to have a federal government one-size-fits-all, we're just completely losing track of the fact that education differs by state. Some school districts are doing a fantastic job, some less so. But the idea that every school district in the state and every teacher is somehow indoctrinating people is just false. You know, when I was building a company from scratch, with small-town kids, and we went, grew up in a town of 300, but we built a global company in 132 countries with over 100,000 customers. We listened to those customers. We spent time with them. We talked to them. We did that. And if
it were the women's issue of our time, Republicans wouldn't actually care about it. Yeah, it's like they don't care about women's sports. They only care about women's sports when it gives them an opportunity to be bigots against trans people, you know? Otherwise, like, women's sports wouldn't be dramatically underfunded. Like, even just girls' sports within the same school system are underfunded.
Governor, well, education is one of the biggest part of a state budget. So as a governor, I shout.
Vivek's father, a graduate of the National Institute of Technology, Calicut, worked as an engineer and patent attorney for General Electric, while his mother, a graduate of a medical college and research institute, worked as a geriatric psychiatrist. His parents immigrated from Palakkad district in Kerala, where the family had an ancestral home in a traditional part of the town. So, yeah, so he literally, like, had parents who easily put him in a much bigger, like, much better tax bracket. Literally a lawyer and a doctor. They banned a trans girl from the sports club she started, forcing the cis girls to have to quit from not enough women in the club to keep it.
Out of a student. I don't. The night before, I find out the student finds out. I'm going to go to every class with them. I don't sit and lecture school districts how to do it. I go and see the experience. And there's a lot of things that have to change. But what needs to change in education is it's innovation. We're doing it the same way we did it 50 years ago with innovation, not regulation. I would get rid of the Department of Education. I would give block grants to schools, but I'd give them on merit based on who's doing the most innovative. I just got done holding the 7th annual Governor's Conference on Innovation Education. You should see what the people are doing when you cut loose the red tape, get the burden off their back. They care. Teachers in this country, the vast majority of them care about those kids. They're working in low-paying jobs, and they're fighting for those kids and their families.
Governor Haley, you said that this is the women's issue of our time.
First, I'll tell you, as you know, as a parent, the one thing you want is for your child to have a better life than you did. And we can talk about all of these things, and there's a lot of crazy woke things happening in schools, but we've got to get these kids reading. If a child can't read by 3rd grade, they're 4 times less likely to graduate high school. So we need to make sure we bring in reading remediation all over this country. We need transparency in the classroom because
I love how she was directly asked about her previous comments on trans people in sports, and she is avoiding it. Yeah. Everybody here they're trying to ask them to address the issue, and they're dodging it completely. Because, again, they've recognized that this is unpopular, which is weird, because I feel like with the flavor of the booze and stuff in the audience so far, I would not be surprised if Fox News's audience specifically was, a big fan of all the anti-trans stuff. But, yeah.
parents should never have to wonder what's being said or taught to their children in the classroom. Parents need to be deciding which schools their kids go to because they know best. And let's put vocational classes back into the high schools. Let's teach our kids to build things again. When we do that and we allow that...
Fox News, it's popular for them specifically because of the drama, not because it will actually win Republican votes. Fair enough. Yeah, because, Fox News' audience they want the drama. They want it.
Innovation, that's when it'll get back. And yes, I will always say I'm going to fight for girls all day long because... strong girls become strong women become strong leaders, and biological boys don't belong in the locker rooms of any of our girls.
We're going to start the lightning round, and the first question is going to go to you, Vice President. So this is a lightning round of questions, 30 seconds.
Yeah, they really didn't go very long on that subject.
Answers, please. President Biden will be 82 years old on Inauguration Day. Nearly 70% of Americans say that he is too old to serve. Should presidents have to pass a mental and physical test in order to serve, Vice President Pence?
Well, it might be a good idea to have everybody in Washington, D.C. pass a mental and but 30 seconds, no. The American people can make those judgments. But let me say, I'm running for president of the United States because we don't need a president who's too old, and we don't need a president who's too young. We need a president who's been there. We need a president who knows how Congress works, how the White House works, how states work, and on this education issue...
Those boos on the young comment were crazy.
I was fighting against No Child Left Behind when Republicans were doubling the Department of Education. I'll also shut down the Federal Department of Education, and when I was governor, we doubled the size of the largest school choice program in America, and we'll give school choice to every family in America when I'm in the White House.
This is a lightning round, Mr. Ramaswamy. I think you were mentioned there. You're 38. You're the youngest on the stage. You've said, and you just said, you want a civics test or public service for those under 25 to be able to vote. So the question is, do you want a mental acuity test for presidents?
Oh, did he actually say that he wanted a civics test to be able to vote? Or like, what? I missed him saying that, I guess. He does a lot of like talking when other people are talking though, so it's easy to miss what Vivek says. Lightning round. Yeah, it's a game show for sure.
Over 75.
I believe in the people of this country to tell the difference between somebody who's an automaton and somebody who's actually a thinking agent in the White House, which we don't have in there today. And I will tell you, I want to address Vice President Pence's comment. I think we do need somebody of a different generation to lead this nation forward. Look at the way I've run this campaign. Going to the south side of Chicago, to Kensington, in the middle of Philadelphia, where traditional Republican candidates don't go. We have an opportunity to build a multi-ethnic, working-class majority to deliver a landslide, and I think I'm the only candidate in this race, young or old, black or white, to bring all of those voters along to deliver a Reagan 1980 revolution. We're going to do it in 2024.
Same question to you, Governor.
Never voted in a presidential election until 2020.
I will answer that. I will answer that.
30 seconds.
30 second quick answer.
You guys
have to get control of this debate.
Everybody's going to get
Listen, listen, we're getting control of the debate. This is a lightning round, not rolling thunder. Governor Hutchinson, you have 30 seconds on the same question.
On education, first of all, look at Arkansas. We have to compete with China. I built computer science education. We led the nation in computer science education, going from 1,100 students to 23,000 students taking it. This is how you compete with China. As President of the United States, I will make sure we go from 51% of our schools offering computer science to every school in rural areas and urban areas offering computer science.
I mean, honestly, that's one of the coolest things. Like, my brother is a few years younger than me, and when he was still in high school, or like he had just graduated, I was like talking to him about the classes that he took, and like my brother took a video editing class in high school. And so yeah, I do think like, you know, learning Adobe programs should maybe be part of what you learn in high school, or like learning, you know, in the way that, you know, when I was younger, we did have a class where they taught you how to use Excel and stuff. Like, I don't think that kind of shit was offered where I lived, but I am from Kansas and we don't fund education here. So, and like, you know, if you have a, you know, if you're from a wealthier area, and I think at that time my brother lived in like a, you know, one of those counties that are pretty high income, then like the schools are nicer, right? You know, so like, yeah, I will say that computer science classes being more widespread is probably a good thing. Yeah, even dead-end jobs require spreadsheets. Not knowing Word or Excel is like not knowing how to print. It would be like, yeah, not being it. You know, you have to have like a typing speed that's appropriate and like makes you a desirable employee, because so many things involve typing now, and like you got to do it quick. We didn't learn shit about computers where I'm from.
For the benefit of our kids, and we can compete with China in terms of technology.
Thank you, sir. This is going to go to this is coming to you. We're trying to do a quick round of different topics here. So, Senator Scott, faith is on decline in this country. You talked about it a little bit before tonight. So, is there a role for a president of the United States in changing that? What would you do to change that?
Well, our nation was founded upon the Judeo-Christian values that has made this the greatest nation on God's green earth.
All the Jews in the audience go,
I'm a big believer in Ephesians 3:20 that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or imagine. Our responsibility should be to model the behavior we want others to follow. On education, the only way we change education in this nation is to break the backs of the teachers' unions. They are standing in the doorhouse of our kids, locking them into failing schools and locking them out of the greatest future they could have.
As President, Governor DeSantis, would you support some mandatory military service for all Americans?
I think it should be voluntary. I'm somebody that volunteered to serve, inspired by September 11th, and I deployed to Iraq alongside U.S. Navy SEALs in places like Fallujah, Ramadi, and it's something that I think has taught me, you know, when you go in that type of environment, anything you have, your personal agenda, you check it at the door. You go there, and it's about focusing on the mission above all else. And guys come together, and they get it done. And that's how I would view being the President of the United States. It's not about me. It's not about all these other side issues. My sole focus will be on your future and reversing this country's decline.
Okay, now for something a little out of this world.
I felt like he almost did another one of those creepy smiles.
And this is for you, Governor Christie. Do you believe that the recent spike in UFO encounters...
I get the UFO question?
Yeah, you do.
Come on,
there
man.
You go. No, but, okay, we've been hearing a lot of testimony in Congress, and people are taking this a lot more seriously, and we're hearing that, you know, there are things going on that people aren't aware of. So, if you were president, Governor Christie, would you level with the American people about what the government knows about these possible encounters?
Martha, and especially coming from a woman from New Jersey, I think it's horrible that just because I'm from New Jersey, you asked me about unidentified flying objects and Martians. We're different, but we're not that different. Look, of course, the job of the President of the United States is to level with the American people about everything. The job of the President of the United States is to stand for truth. The job of the President of the United States is to be a role model for our children and our grandchildren.
I almost feel bad about Chris getting unfair questions. I mean, the thing that's sad about it is that he's getting such an unserious question, you know, and so he's finding a way to spin it and be like, take me seriously, though.
Children. And so whether it was UFOs or this problem of education, and Tim's right, by the way, and I started this in 2010 by going right after the teachers' unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs.
Okay. Well, coming up, we've got closing arguments plus.
DeSantis was, quote, inspired by 9/11 to, in 2004, join JAG as a commissioned officer. He was a Navy lawyer. Amazing. I love him. You have to talk yourself up, you know? DeSantis wouldn't last 60 seconds on a real battlefield. Yeah, like the implication when you say, like, I was a veteran is to be like, yeah, I fought in a war. I'm a tough man. Like, if you say that you're a pencil pusher for the military, then obviously that it undercuts you. It's almost like worse to be a pencil pusher in the military than it is to be like a desk guy in literally any civilian role. Because, like, it's like there's the amp up of being like, yeah, I was in the military. Like, oh, cool. You're a fighting man, like a strong guy. And then you're like, ah, yes, but I was a pencil pusher. And then it's like, oh, well, now I respect you even less because, you know, you want the stolen valor of being a military man, but without having any of the, you know, the actual sacrifice in it or whatever. He was deployed to Iraq in 2007 alongside Navy SEALs as the legal advisor to SEAL Team 1. Oh, wonderful.
Right after the debate, Hannity is live from the spin room right here in the Fiserv Forum with reaction from all the candidates. As soon as they step off the stage, we'll be back after this. 20 years ago, 70% of American adults said they were extremely proud to be an American. That number has now plummeted to just 39%. In his pitch to get to the Oval Office, President Reagan called America the shining city on a hill, a beacon of hope and optimism.
I had a friend who did that, legal advisor in Iraq, basically telling soldiers not to shoot innocent people. In reality, these, quote, UFOs are really just unregulated spycraft America is making without congressional oversight, and UFOs are a euphemism to keep that from being released publicly. I mean, that's an interesting idea. Like, yeah, I suspect that it could likely be some kind of, like, unofficial or, like, unsanctioned military actions. Like, there's no, like, aliens, but we do have unidentified flying objects in the sense that, like, yeah, it's, like, literally it could be anything. It's unidentified. Like, it could be another spy balloon from China for all we know.
So in your closing statement tonight, please tell American voters why you are the person who can inspire this nation.
Sometimes they're just camera glitches, too. Yeah.
To a better day. These are 45 seconds, and we begin with Governor Burgum.
I understand why America's hurting. Biden's inflation is choking us. I grew up in a small town. My dad died when I was a freshman in high school. My mom, widow.
Yeah, and like Biden's inflation, Biden's gas prices, absolutely no mention of the private entities that are charging you so much money. It's Biden's inflation. Yeah, choke us harder.
3, went back to work. Every job I had growing up was one where I took a shower at the end of the day, not at the beginning of the day. Our cities are less safe because of the fentanyl pouring into this country. Our economy is being crushed by Biden's energy policies, which are raising the cost of every product you buy, not just the gasoline at the pump. One thing that I'll do as president, I'll secure the border. I'll get this economy sprinting, not crawling like it is right now. And I would say that other thing is for sure, when I'm on a horseback in the Badlands of North Dakota, it looks like the horizon is just limitless. And when you can almost see beyond that horizon, you can see that this great country, our future is unlimited. But we've got to focus on innovation, not regulation. We've got to cut the red tape. We've got to drive ourselves forward. The way we win the Cold War with China is by growing our economy and through innovation. And as president, I will bring out the best of America. I will improve every American life.
Well, we hope you're back on your horse soon.
Also, inflation is worldwide, true.
Governor Hutchinson?
Our nation is in trouble, and it's in trouble because of failed leadership. And the solution is not 4 more years of Joseph Biden. The solution is not 4 more years of Donald Trump. The solution is new leadership that can bring bold ideas to America and to bring out the best of America. A president's #1 responsibility is to bring out the best of our people. That's what Ronald Reagan did. And he did it with optimism and hope for our country, with a consistent conservatism. That's exactly what I bring.
Dude, just
as
like
president, I'll bring out the best of America in terms of individual responsibility, building our economy, in terms of securing our border, enforcing the rule of law. I'll bring out the best of America in terms of our national character, our faith, and our hope for the future. Join in this fight, ASA2024.com.
Thank you. Senator Scott.
Hey, it's such a cool name, though. Asa?
I was a disillusioned young man growing up in a single-parent household mired in poverty. I wondered if the American dream was real for a kid like me. I can stand before you today and say the dream is alive, it is well, and it is healthy. I have the good fortune of a mom who works 16-hour days, making sure
you can say that the dream was alive like 40 years ago when you were young and needed things. No, I don't think a black kid with a single mom in the South is today gonna have the same opportunities that you did 40 years ago, and even then it wasn't great.
Food on our tables. She taught me that if you're able-bodied in America, you work. If you take out a loan, you pay it back. You commit a violent crime, you go to jail. And if God made you a man, you play sports against men.
Sure.
I'm Tim Scott. I'm asking you for your vote, and if you're in Iowa, I'm asking you to caucus for me. You can go to votetimscott.com for more information or to make a contribution.
Governor Christie.
Cute. Slid in the donation website.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Martha. Look, everybody on this stage wants to be the next president of the United States. And the only way that's going to happen is if we beat Joe Biden. I'm the only one on this stage who's ever beaten a Democratic incumbent in an election. I did it in a deep blue state, being outspent 3-1. Beating a Democratic incumbent is not easy. The last Democratic incumbent president who was defeated was Jimmy Carter. And he was defeated by a conservative governor from a blue state who knew how to get results, who stood for the truth, who cared about accountability, and stood strong and hard against waste. Those are the very things that I did in my 8 years as governor of New Jersey, and it's exactly what I'll do as president of the United States. Believe me, the Democrats want some other nominee who's never beaten a Democratic incumbent. I'm the one who can win this race, and if you give me the chance, I will restore our country by winning it.
Thank you. Governor Haley.
You got some cheers.
Several weeks ago, I dropped my husband, Michael, a combat veteran from Afghanistan, off at 4 a.m. for another year-long deployment. I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they had never been, all in the name of protecting America. If they are willing to protect us from there, we should be willing to fight for America.
So all these people who talk about how weak the military is if you let the F slurs in, and meanwhile she's like, I'm clearly a 50 or 60-year-old woman, and I just sent my husband off again to war. And it's like, why are there a bunch of old people? Why is there a 60-year-old man? Unless he's an officer, why are you over there either? If we're, I'm just saying, if you're going to make the argument.
America here. I will beat Joe Biden, and he knows that. I will strengthen our economy, and we'll bring this inflation down. We will put transparency in the classroom. We will secure our borders. We will have the backs of our law enforcement, and we will make sure we have a strong national security. And once again, we will make sure we have an America that is strong and proud. We have a country to save. Join us. Go to NikkiHaley.com, and let's get it done.
Vice President Pence.
Thank you, Brad and Martha, for this evening. It's an honor to be here. Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad. The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, their war on energy, runaway spending that launched the worst inflation in 40 years, a crisis at our southern border, an assault on our...
Yeah, they're going to portray the climate stuff as a war on energy every time. Like it's attacking business or attacking our ability to be independent and have energy, as though part of the fucking point is getting to renewables. This is way funnier without Trump, TBH. I mean, yeah, it would just be constant interruption by him on everything. If it would have been dominated by him, So it's almost good that he wasn't there.
Values and liberties, and the American people have had enough. But I know we can bring it back. But different times call for different leadership. The Republican Party owes the American people a choice. Proven leadership at the national level that knows how to move a conservative agenda forward. We proved in the Trump-Pence years you can turn this country around faster than you can imagine. And I have faith we will again. Because I have faith in the American people, the good, decent, hardworking, faith-filled, idealistic people of this country. And I have faith that God is not done with America yet. And if we will renew our faith in one another and renew our faith in Him who has ever guided this nation since we arrived on these wilderness shores, I know the best days for the greatest nation on earth are yet to come.
Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy.
I really am curious, if the religious angle is going to still keep working with the Republican Party. It does seem like it has been, and I think I was talking about this earlier in the week on stream as well, is I think that there is less of a sway where it used to be that Christianity and Republicanism were synonymous with each other, but I don't think that that's going to be the case anymore. He's definitely not gotten as much attention for his pro-God comments during this debate. Everyone is alienated by religion at this point. I mean, yeah, fair enough.
1985, and I grew up into a generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by a common set of ideals that set this nation into motion in 1776. And this is our moment to revive those common ideals. God is real. There are two genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity.
Oh my God.
Reverse racism is racism.
Oh, wow,
An
cute.
open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to man. Capitalism lifts us up from poverty. There are 3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what will win us the revolution of 2024. Thanks for letting me introduce myself tonight. Thank you.
Governor DeSantis.
Vivek is easily the worst one up there. I hate him so much. I just hate him.
Governor?
This is our time for
Who is
choosing.
that lady?
We will send Joe Biden back to his basement, and we will reverse the decline of this country. I'm a blue-collar kid. I work minimum wage jobs to be able to make ends meet. I understand the importance of the American dream, and I know how
really?
that slipped
What?
away from so many millions of Americans. Will restore it. I'm a veteran who served in Iraq. I know what it means to put service above self. I'm also a dad and a husband to 6'5" and 3-year-old. I understand the importance of protecting parents' rights and the well-being of our children. In Florida, we showed it could be done. I made promises, and I delivered on all of those promises. 2024 is make or break. We're not getting a mulligan. No excuses. I will get the job done, and as your president, I will not let you down. God bless you all.
Oh, there's the smile. Oh, the weird smile. Oh, no.
Thank you to all the candidates on the stage tonight, and thank you to Milwaukee.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you on the...
They let DeSantis go last. They let him go last. He has a 6'5" 3-year-old. True. Yeah, like they let him go last. So I guess that means that like Fox News is positioning DeSantis as the one who's gonna win it. Yeah, he went first and last. He's technically the second in the polls because of his position in the polls. Yeah, I honestly think that Vivek is gonna appeal to like the young Republicans who like, yeah, the young, not particularly religious, basically all of the libertarian Elon dick sucking type of people. I think Vivek is gonna attract those folks. So I'm curious. I think that he might actually pull out a little bit more because the crowd seemed to like him for sure. They liked how combative he is. In that same way that, like, Trump is combative, Vivek is combative. You're right, guys. I think you might be right that he's trying to suck Trump's dick. Elon's been sucking his dick? Really? Elon is like, Vivek is the candidate for me? He's the gamer favorite. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, exactly. They were supposedly paid for audience for him? Really? Yeah, how fast can you ramble off far-right slogans? So, I would say Christie's got no chance in hell. The woman has no chance in hell. The black dude has no chance in hell. Hutchinson, I don't think that anyone would give consideration to Hutchinson. Or that one quiet guy. I feel like that there was one guy. Is that red thing in the basket behind you a red heart? It's an apple. It's an apple. And I made it out of crochet. So... that's what that is. It's cute. I need to like make some stuff and then have it ready so that I can add a new tier on my Patreon so that people can get in on a raffle where I make little objects like this and then raffle them off. So that's a fun thing. But this is for me. You can't have it. It's not for you. Not for you. I love how my cornucopia has a single apple in it. It's not much of a cornucopia right now. Who do we think Trump will run with? That's the real question. Yeah, because I think Trump's gonna get the nomination probably based on his polling. So who is gonna, like, it has to be someone who hasn't talked much shit on him, right? It definitely won't be DeSantis. It probably won't be Pence because Trump himself talks shit on both of them. Ron DeSanctimonious and Pence, like, opposing him on the whole, like, January 6th thing. Yeah, this is my cornucopia under neoliberal Reaganomics. Christie is probably not going to be on there with Trump because he talks shit on him so much. I suspect Vivek is angling for VP. He has not been saying anything negative about Trump. He's like, I will pardon Trump when I become president, you know? But, like, the fucking bringing back institutions, that's some terrifying shit, man. That's not good. Man, that's not good. I mean, like, a totally separate system of jailing people, but, like, without them having to commit a crime in the first place. Like, it's fucked up. So, who's the old guy? I can't remember his name. There was an old guy on the right who wasn't Governor Hutchinson, but he's been a primary candidate before, I think. I feel like I remember seeing him at a Republican primary debate previously. That's probably the one other question I wish that Fox had explicitly asked. Having them ask, like, who would accept a VP position if Trump wins? Yeah, even more so than, like, would you support Trump as nominee? I would rather have Jeb as VP, to be frank. Please clap. Please. Imagine if Trump chose his own son for VP. Donald Trump Jr. I think that would be really funny. We're gonna turn America into a family business. That's what we're doing. Good grief. Nuclear family equals no gays. Yeah, I mean, when he said, like, I have two parents and the nuclear family is really important, it's like, technically speaking, you could be saying that you support, like, gay marriage in that sense, but, like, there is an implication when you say nuclear family that it means, like, a man and a woman, you know? But it's not really popular to say, I don't believe in gay marriage, so they didn't bring that up, even though it is something that some politicians are talking about, like, challenging that Supreme Court thing. Like, they could have brought it up when they were talking about Dobbs and the abortion issue, but they didn't, because they're avoiding these issues that are not popular, you know? Even though they still intend to roll back gay marriage, even though they still intend to attack trans kids, they're just not talking about it on this stage. Yes, a man and a woman with 2.5 children. Yeah. You know, I'm sorry, Jennifer was just born with only the top half of her torso and, like, her head. She's got no arms, no legs. Oh my god, girl, what are you doing? Why you do this? You had stopped freaking out about it for just, like, a little while, and now you're doing it again. God. Okay, anyway. Jiminy Christmas. So, yeah, Solomon gave her lower half to another family. Trump would like a monarchy. That is not far from the truth as we would like to believe. Actually, I heard several GOP politicians say that they would like to get rid of elections, etc. Well, sure, yeah, because they want to be autocrats. That's their thing. Like, they want to be able to do what they want to do with impunity and, like, exercise power. Yeah. The microphone, or sorry, it's like my microphone is still working, so I can still talk to you, but the camera is just pissing and shitting itself. Good grief. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after this. Like, I guess I could, as, like, a last thing before we go so that I can eat food, would be, like, polls before and after primary debate. Do we have, like... Donald Trump maintains a 44-point lead over Ron DeSantis after skipping the first GOP primary debate. Okay, cool. Thank you, Morning Consult Pro website, for giving me this. Share of potential primary, blah, blah, blah. People who said that they would vote pre-debate and post-debate. So Donald Trump's at the same. Ron DeSantis is the same. Ramaswamy has more. So Vivek went up by a point. Pence was the same. Chris Christie went up slightly. Cute. And Asa Hutchinson went down by 1 point after the debate. Doug, still not on... Doug was there, but I don't think Francis or Will were there. They were not in the running. Doug, they still let him have a place at the table for the first primary, even though no one ever wants him. Yeah, I would not be enthused if Vivek ended up being the VP. It's not going to be a good time, but I'd like to learn about someone else. Yes, let's talk about this candidate. Someone else. I would like to know. Who the fuck is Doug? I say again. Yeah, is he... Whomst Doug... what was his last name? Burgum. Doug Burgum. He's the governor of North Dakota. Yeah. So, just a governor from a state that very few people live in. You know how it is. I think Trump will get everyone to pass a law that makes future politicians immortal to paying for their crimes, meaning anyone, including Democrats, can't get away with anything, and his supporters who get it passed won't even realize what they've done. Who knows what Trump is going to do if he gets back in office? We can hope not. It's like, I think that he, apparently, I didn't even understand that he has like almost 60 points. Like, you know, it's so weird to me that he has 58% of, like, the Republicans say that they want him to be president. Like, I don't really get it. Oh my God. But maybe there's like a shrinking number of Republicans who identify as Republicans and wouldn't vote for Trump. I don't know what the deal is, man. The state with literally 500 people. Oh, gosh. Well, that was fun. We certainly did it. I want 46 states, give back Alaska and Hawaii, turn the North and South Dakotas into one big Dakota. Says a lot that there was exactly one woman even possible. I don't think she's even possible. Like, is she even on this list of candidates? Okay, Nikki Haley, I guess. She's at 3%. She's at 3 points, which is not great. Yeah, I don't know. Would Nikki... There's no way that Trump would have a woman running with him. He doesn't respect women, so he wouldn't do that. Even GOP are getting sick of Trump. Apparently, like, not according to this poll, apparently. So, anyway, I'm hungry AF, y'all, and I'm ready to eat some lunch. So, I appreciate you all joining me today. And as far as I know, we're doing regular streams this week. So, this is my last Sunday stream until, like, the end of October, by the way. So, I apologize to those of you who are joining us from across the pond who like being here for the Sunday streams. I am going to be working a seasonal job over the weekends. So I will be seeing you Tuesdays and Thursdays at the regular time, and then that's it. And then, yeah, like, even then I might still miss some depending on how tired I am from all the heat exposure on the weekends. But yeah, I'm planning, as far as I know, to keep doing this, like, twice a week thing for a bit. So hopefully you all will be joining me through this nice autumn season. I hope that we have an actual fucking autumn. That would be great. Who knows, though? God. Climate change. Anyway, I will be seeing you all on Tuesday. Okay? Be good. Or at least don't get in trouble. Okay? Bye.